French organizers were hoping for a red, white, and blue headline at the 73rd 24 Hours of Le Mans. Little did they know it would be 3 stars and stripes and 1 Union Jack as American and British teams swept the Endurance Classic. The biggest headlines were grabbed by champion Audi. The Florida-based team claimed the first American privateer win in 40 years while carrying Tom Christensen to a record 7th win. Now the teams have returned home to America at Connecticut's Lime Rock Park. Today on Speed, the run to 4 separate American Le Mans Series titles begins in earnest.
Well, as you would expect, the champion team is still euphoric following that victory over in France. But here today at Lime Rock Park, the heavy lifting begins in the chase for the championship trophy. But champions certainly didn't rest on their laurels in qualifying. Marco Werner put together a sensational lap to claim the pole position, and that surprised many people up and down pit lane who thought the favorites would be the locally based Dyson team in their lightweight Lolas. This team have been working hard since the break from Mid-Ohio where they finished 1-2. They've made changes to the cars they've been testing. But qualifying is just one small step to victory here today. Strategy will be the key on this short, fast, and furious bull ring of a racetrack.
The GT2 category at Le Mans was an American benefit as 3 American Le Mans Series teams swept the podium, led by the partnership of BAM and Alex Job Racing over Peterson Motorsports White Lightning Racing. Today, though, there are no alliances. It is a one-on-one fight to win a class that has not yet had a repeat winner in 2005.
In GT2 qualifying, it was all Patrick Long as the young American Porsche factory driver needed only 2 laps in qualifying to claim his first pole position of the season. And the 2 GT2 teams that partnered together and worked so well to bring home the Le Mans Championship, Alex Job Racing and BAM, they have gone back to their individual operations and will now fight mano a mano all season long to bring home both team and driver championships. But the Manufacturers' Championship is also up for grabs, and expect Panos to fight very hard to wrestle that coveted trophy away from Porsche.
The American Le Mans Series. Cool cars, world-class drivers, premier road courses. Born in France in 1923 with the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the ALMS is the glamour, the glory, and the grueling reality of sports car racing. European style with American attitude. Drivers from around the world strut their speed, skill, and endurance. 4 separate classes racing on the track at the same time. It is the chain that connects the new and the faithful sports car fans of an extraordinary endurance racing tradition. This is the American Le Mans Series.
With the certainly well-deserved, but nevertheless extreme distractions of Le Mans, now a thing of the past, the regulars of the American Le Mans Series have to get down to the business of winning championships, and that begins right now here at this storied facility. Hi everybody, and welcome to an absolutely glorious afternoon in northwestern Connecticut. I'm Greg Kramer, joined by Dorsey Schrader. Down in the pits we'll have Calvin Fish and Brian Till, and Dorsey, as our Porsche keys to the race will show, a huge pendulum swing for these teams coming from a track like Le Mans to Lime Rock.
You're right, Greg. We'll call it traffic density. Let me explain. Le Mans is 8.5 miles around. Lime Rock's only 1.5 miles. Now, what that means is that at Le Mans, they had 3 football fields worth of racetrack to work per car. Here at Lime Rock, you're only going to have 1 football field. It would be like trying to start 125 cars at Le Mans. That's an 8-mile track. This is only 1.5 miles, and it comes down to 2 words: traffic jam.
And while this track may not have the number of challenges that Le Mans does, they come at you a whole lot quicker. Dorsey, take us around on a lap of this track provided by Frank Beal and the champion Audi.
Well, like I say, Lime Rock Park's only a 1.5 mile track. The front straightaway, or pit straightaway, is the longest on the circuit. But watch how bumpy it is down here in the brake zone for turn 1 or Big Bend. Double apex corner here. There's the first one. Track out a little bit and tuck it back in tight for the second. Now a short straightaway to the S's, and the left-hand portion of the S's is a throwaway corner. You give up speed here so you can make this next right-hander extremely well. A lot of speed onto no-name straightaway. No-name straightaway, the second longest straight, is also very, very bumpy. Hard to get the car balanced in here as you brake for this uphill, the climbing turn. You have a little chicane they have to dart through right here, and you can see how traffic can affect you during the race. You build speed off the corner onto West Bend. Up on top of this hill, you're really going fast. You want to do this corner cleanly because it comes onto the diving corner, the downhill. This will take your breath totally away. And a very important corner to get right because here you are back on pit straightaway. Pits are on your right, start and finish up ahead.
And folks, in qualifying, that all happened in less than 47 seconds. Now, for our Pirelli GT1 storylines, let's get back down to Brian Till.
In GT1, the strength of the Corvettes remains unquestioned as Olivier Beretta and the number 4 Corvette C6 captured its 3rd pole position of the season. The number 3 sister car will start 2nd, but it was not all smooth sailing in GT1 class this weekend, as in Friday practice, the Maserati MC12, driven by Fabio Babini, had a big problem through the S's, exited the racing surface, and almost found the creek. The car was not badly damaged, and in fact will roll off 3rd in the GT1 class today. For more on P2, let's check in with Calvin.
Well, Brian, in P2, Miracle Motorsports start from the pole and hope to rebound from the disappointments at Mid-Ohio and Lamar, but they had to park perfectly healthy race cars due to rules violations. Now, this class has seen 3 different winners from the first 3 races, and currently has 4 drivers tied for the lead in the championship. And the winners in the last round of Mid-Ohio, the Mazda-powered BK Motorsports team, they will roll off 3rd today.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, and we are just about set for 2 hours, 45 minutes of American Le Mans Series action at Lime Rock Park, and it is about to start now, round 4. Lights are out in the pace car field, making its way down. Bit of a gap between that first group of rows and the rest of the field. Nonetheless, pace car slowing them down, letting them bunch up. Watch for the pace car to make the move into pit lane. It is done, and Dorsey, we are green.
Watch for congestion down in the big bend. It always happens. They'll get 3 and 4 wide, coming into a very rough brake zone.
So far, so good. Absolutely. And Marco Werner, who put that car, that Audi on the pole, it's 38th pole for that remarkable chassis in the American Le Mans Series. Just an incredible story back in the back. Boy, the 43 car, that is the Bam entry, has exploded from back in terms of its place in qualifying 4th. That's Mike Rockefeller, who is a missile, a whiz kid. He's getting a big haul. That bright yellow red you're watching is the C5 in the hands of the 2 Atlantic racers, the Galvin and the gentleman that he's partnering with, also a very quick driver, now it's Vic.
For Mike Rockefeller, that was a very smart move to take that GT2 Porsche and go from 4th place to 2nd. Be very aggressive at the start. If you can get underneath guys on the first lap before they get single file, you can make up a lot of ground. That's exactly what he did.
You were talking about Dorsey and that traffic density, about number of cars per lap. Rockefeller spends a lot of time in the Nürburgring where they start 170 cars to go racing there, so he's used to getting it done in a hurry. That is a huge leap. And of course, there's that Porsche prototype, the LMP2 that's coming out. There's a lot of these young Porsche factory drivers that are trying to let everybody know that they belong in that seat.
Yeah, there are a lot of really competitive drivers in the Porsche brigade that want to get in that LMP2.
You talk about the start that Mike Rockefeller got, guys. Well, the officials are talking about it too. They're looking to see if he passed anybody before the start-finish. The rule in the ALMS series is no passing or improving before the start-finish line. We saw the start Rockefeller got. They're looking at it too.
Oh, Andy Wallace is looking at something too at the back of that Audi, and he wants by. We really expected that Wallace might have gotten the pole had he not been blocked on one of his qualifying laps. That being done, ooh, a little wiggle right there, coming off a big bend. He's really aggressive right now. I can tell you just the way he's driving.
He qualified 3rd, so he just followed Werner straight through and was able to make the move. Watch Wallace, a savvy move as he tucked up behind Werner right there.
Actually, what we're looking in the restart of the original start, way over here on the corner is the car in question. Rockefeller really passed a bunch of people before he got to the start-finish line.
Aggressive.
That's aggressive, but there's a rule. Let's see what happens.
Well, and they tend to aggressively punish when that kind of thing happens as well. There's your lead 3 right there, and everybody, obviously the officials studying, as Brian alluded to, what might happen to Mr. Rockefeller. There's a look at Butch Leitzer, who also on his fastest lap ended up with traffic. He made a pass in the diving turn and still ended up 2nd and only a couple of tenths off. And the telemetry, I talked to Rob Dice, Team Motor, and he said that the telemetry showed it may have cost him 10, so he may have had a pull.
We talked about traffic density as the Porsche key to the race, and it's going to happen in about another lap or 2. Believe it or not, these cars are lapping at 47 seconds. They're going to catch the tail end of the 2 cars, these cars right here, very shortly. When they do, one of the nuances of round Lime Rock is not letting yourself lose your momentum, and it's really hard to do when you've got slower cars and you have to work in between. Mike Rockefeller gets over. Dicey there for the S's.
Brian talked about the Open, just an amazing lap. It's actually very late in the session. Surprised Mason Ma, who had been on pole last year, looked like he had his 2nd straight here. And Patrick Long just threw one in. That was just amazing. And he's sort of cycled back a little bit, though.
Well, all of the Porsche teams have all talked about really having a hard time coming to grips with Lime Rock from the aspect of how bumpy this racing surface has gotten since the last time they were here. They use the same setup, the same cars, and the cars are just diabolical. They've been chasing all weekend long. Look at all the ripples right there. You can see a good shot of it.
Lock up on the Panos. I mean, it is affecting every aspect of the car. Braking, turn in, the whole thing. It is just absolutely amazing how rough this track is, and yet somehow in all four classes the track records were absolutely obliterated. Just an amazing story as you ride on board with the C3 Racing Porsche. Here are your class leaders, folks, at the very early going. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by New Mobil 1 Extended Performance, the oil that's changing oil. By Porsche. Porsche, there is no substitute. And by Klein Tools. Tools worth asking for. So ask your tool supplier today for Klein. And Dorsey, the afternoon for the leaders in traffic.
Well, like I said, it doesn't take long to start coming into these other classes. There's 4 classes racing. All of them own their own part of the racetrack.
We see the Dyson cars having to deal with the traffic, as is Marco Werner, and the team have really worked hard on the wastegate, on the turbo with that little engine. Advanced engine research and put these engines together, worked hard to try and get the throttle response more linear, more progressive. It really makes the car a lot more drivable, and the added advantage with that, Dorsey, is the fact that it will get much better fuel mileage as well.
Of course, Calvin, that wastegate you're talking about is a device that turbocharged cars use to eliminate the boost pressure that's inside the intake log when the driver takes his foot off the gas. That's that chirping noise you hear on the TV. That's the wastegate opening up. And the faster that can happen, get rid of that boost, the better the throttle response is.
Let's go back and take a look at what's unfolding in GT1. Very good action here, of course. And another great story really in qualifying here. First of all, the lap that put the number 64 bet, excuse me, I'm used to the Le Mans call, the number 4 bet on pole. It was by Olivier Beretta, and it broke the tie for the all-time record of poles he had with Ron Fellows. He now holds it with 15. That's just amazing. The guy loves speed.
We're riding on board with Ron Fellows right now, and of course he's the senior driver of this group, if you would say. But I had a lot of good races around this racetrack with Ron. He knows his way around here, and he won't let the pressure off, I guarantee you that. One of the things I was talking about at Lime Rock, keeping your momentum up, and when you start working traffic, one of the things you don't want to do is catch a group of cars in a place where it's going to make you stay behind them at a slower speed for a long period of time. Now, the only way you cannot get caught is to look further and further ahead.
Time, you're doing good, man.
Danny Binks right there talking back to his driver, saying you're giving him a time split and saying you're doing good. That encouragement really helps about an hour and a half from now when you're getting really tired.
These guys have raced so closely in this format for so many times. Interesting, of course, the number 4 group comes off of that great win at Le Mans, but they have yet to win this season in the American Le Mans Series in particular. So when you are talking championship, the advantage right now points-wise definitely is
Watching the Corvettes catch the Porsche now, he's going to have to get by that cleanly before the downhill, because if you go, okay, see what he's done there is he's backed off the throttle so he can get a run going right here. He doesn't want to catch this Porsche at the bottom of the hill and have to lift.
Meanwhile, in the LMP2 category, it is the number 10 Miracle Motorsports entry. Jeff Bucknam, Chris McMurray, the drivers of that car, and it is Bucknam behind the wheel. It, too, just shattered the qualifying record that was set here last year. So these cars, this is the new Courage chassis, and they are working incredibly well. And you can see they get the spot up in GT traffic as well, right behind the number 43 entry, the BAM entry right now, which has dropped back rather significantly. If there's a problem with they're just trying to make good on that jump.
Well, they might be making good on the jump. You see all the cars jumping and bumping around there on the straight. Like I said, this is such a rough racetrack. You can't really afford to run really side by side with another car with no margin of error, with the car jumping and leaping all over the racetrack like that. Through
the diving turn once again back onto the front straight. They have had The last couple of races for this team have been just absolutely frustration personified.
Oh, trouble here.
Oh, that's the number 71, a GT entry from Car Sport America, Weichert and Rugolo. And it's Rugolo, the starting driver, is off and deep into the weeds.
Yeah, I think that is in the left-hander, if I'm not mistaken. You can go, it is. You can get into that brake zone right there. Like I say, it's a compromised corner. If you get it too deep and lock your wheels up, you see it's sand here, and there's his track. No way, he's in the swamp, and he's not going anywhere.
A lot of rain here leading up into this weekend, and as a result, there's still an awful lot of water that has saturated spots, the lower parts of that track, and we are going to go full course caution.
Well, take a look here what happens. I already know because I have done this before. I've been in the swamp before. Watch here as they come off the corner. Oh, there's another car that made that's the same. Just a little too much speed. Like I say, didn't make the corner and gets in the sand and gravel. Once you get that wet grass, you said, Greg, it's been raining here quite a lot. It's beautiful today, but the grass and the water out there is going to stay.
And it just turns into basically a skating rink. You build speed and head right into the wet stuff. And that car is parked. We're full course caution, going to have to do an extraction before we can get going. So once again, here are the leaders of the 4 classes. Each of the leaders shown to your right here. And on behalf of all of us at Speed Channel, very happy 4th of July, folks. Hope you're enjoying it with some very special family and friends. We are back in Lime Rock. Very early in the going, a yellow and Calvin Fish. Pit's amazingly busy.
It is. In fact, the 20 car was already in here, and we also saw the number 8 car in LMP2 driven by Guy Cosmo in as well. I think there may be a problem with Wallace. This really doesn't play into their fuel strategy. We're going to check in with the team and get back to you, Greg.
All right, Calvin, thanks very much. That was, and you know, one of the reasons Rob Dyson strongly attributes to this car becoming even more impressive and faster is the tires that it's running. And we want to take a look at our Michelin tire summary, if you will, and it's a look at their 2005 success already. In MotoGP bikes, 7 starts, 7 wins. Look at that stat for the World Rally Championship. In Formula One, 9 poles. Look at the starts versus wins ratio. In ALMS, are 3 for 3. And, of course, they just got their 8th straight Le Mans win. Absolutely unbelievable what Michelin has been able to do. And, of course, Michelin has some tips for you as a consumer as well.
In the American Le Mans Series, teams battle on the racetrack as well as in pit lane, and nowhere is that more true than at a short track like here at Lime Rock Park, where the P1 lap times can be down in the 47-second range. Teams need to have a car that's very consistent on the racetrack so that they don't lose positions, and they also need to spend as little time in pit lane as possible. They'd like to double stint tires if they could, because on a long pit stop, you could literally lose a lap. Donnie Wilson is a race tire engineer with Michelin, and Donnie, I know you guys have worked hard to provide your customers a tire that they can win with.
Yeah, these tires are designed with the intention of running multiple stints from the outset, and the tires lose very little performance, if any, on the track, and it helps the teams to save time in the pits with no tire change. So it's a big advantage.
Well, consistency, durability, and performance. It's what the drivers and the teams in the American Le Mans Series look for on the racetrack, and it's what Michelin customers get also on the street at home.
All right, thanks very much, and let's get right back down to Calvin.
Well, Andy Wallace is back in pit lane. They sent him back out. There's a paddle shifter issue on this car right now. They didn't want to go down a lap. So right now, this is going to be tight. I think they're going to lose one here. We have a short lap under green. It's even short as well under yellow here. So right now, this is heartbreaking for this team. Andy Wallace has one really fast race car here. There's a line problem on the back. The mechanics are going to work, but even doing a human job here, they just can't get the problem fixed before the field comes by, Greg. He's a lap down.
For the folks at home that might not know what a paddle shifter is, there's a paddle on the steering wheel on the right-hand side. And the driver, Andy Wallace, can grab that on the right side, pull on it, and it will upshift the car automatically. On the left side of the wheel, there's another one. If he pulls that, it makes a downshift. Now, if it's not working, they can disconnect all that and go back to a manual shift, but this is costing them valuable lap time.
It's just tremendous, the damage this is doing in the early going. We continue to circulate under caution here, and we're going to take a look as we go to break at our leaders in the LMP1 division. We are are still under caution here at Lime Rock Park, and Calvin Fish, understand the vet, one of them anyway, has made a stop as well.
Well, that's the key, Greg. You said one of them. I went up to Doug Feehan. We had the number 3 car pit with Ron Fellows behind the wheel. I say, you're just splitting strategy. He said, no, we're just trying to have a bit more of a fuel window to work with. I said, what about the other car? Well, he should have pitted also, so obviously some miscommunication going on here. And that could really be key here today. I mean, this is going to be such a tight battle between the 2 yellow cars. That one pit stop could make all the difference.
Well, Calvin, as you finished that, the number 4 stayed out once again, so don't know whether they're having some sort of communications problem, as you alluded to. Now, one of the things we talk about is in racing, you get a lot of support from products that consumers can use, and earlier Calvin Fish checked in on one.
For many of you this summer, you'll be heading out on the road with the families on board, heading to those summer vacation homes. And if you were to have the problem of a flat tire on the side of the road, you'd certainly look on in envy at some of our ALMS teams and the fact that they have crews who can change all 4 tires in less than 10 seconds. Well, fortunately, there's some great products out on the market that can really help you out. And one such product is called Slime. It's the official tire sealant and repair product for the ALMS series. Now with me here today is Chris McMurray. He's the driver of the number 10 Miracle Motorsports LMP2 car, and he's going to give us a little demonstration here as to how this product works.
Thanks, Calvin. I've got a tire here that's pre-treated with slime, so if you're riding your bike or ATV and you ever get a flat tire, this is kind of what would happen, right? You get the hole in the tire, pull it out, you can hear it, the air coming out, and within one rotation while you're moving along the road there, it's sealed up and you're ready to go.
Now if the consumer doesn't have the product already inside the tire, is it game over?
No, they've got a great product here. It's called the Slime Smart Spare, and everybody should have one in their car. It comes with an air compressor, so if you get a flat tire and you haven't pre-treated, you can just hook this up in about 15 minutes, you'll be off and ready to go again.
Well, they say it takes the average person about 45 minutes to change a spare tire, so kids, get the stopwatches out, see how quick Dad can perform with Slime on board.
That's a good point. When you're heading to the beach with a carload full of hot kids, the last thing you want to do is be spending an hour on the side of the road. So
what are you saying, slime them?
Slime them. Slime them and get them going again. Absolutely. Well, we continue under caution here, so we're going to take this opportunity to break away. Here are your leaders again in our 4 classes. Tomorrow on Speed, it's Texas Hardtails. Take a look into the life and twisted times of renowned bike builder Rick Fairless and his custom bike shop, Strokers Dallas. A real-life bike shop and beer joint unlike any other. Texas Hardtails, mostly true, totally unreal. Tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern, exclusively on Speed. Let's get right back down to Calvin Fish. More developments for the number 20 Dyson Lola.
Indeed, Greg. Wallace was back in again, lost an additional lap, spoke to Randall Kelsey, the crew chief on the Dyson team. He said we've had to go to the regular shifter, but he is just one frustrated man. He felt these guys had a shot at victory here today. Quick update on the number 4 Corvette. I spoke with Doug Feehan once again. I said, is there a communications issue? He said the radios are working fine. We just got the call to Olivier late, and hence he didn't make his way into pit lane, and now it doesn't make much sense as we're getting ready for green. So just a little bit more fuel in the number 3 Corvette. We'll see how that plays out.
Well, with these pit stops and strategies so close, it should be very interesting to watch indeed. There is the number 3 vet. And perhaps now, Dorsey, it's got itself a leg up. Now, we want to show you something here. First time you're going to see these. This is the new Porsche LMP2 prototype that is going to be coming out, and it certainly looks pretty and it certainly looks effective.
Highly awaited, and of course will be run by Roger Penske and the infamous Penske racing staff. So you know when they come, it's going to be big time all the way. Very pretty car, and speculation as to what that will sell for. And it is a customer car. It is for sale.
It will be developed by the Penske team, and then once they feel it's ready, opened up to people to purchase, and we should see the LMP2 ranks swell appropriately, I would think. Pace car, lights are out. Pace car is in, and nice job there by the number 79 Justin Jackson car to get out of the way. We're back to green, and just everybody getting swallowed up right now. And Dorsey, there were a couple of cars. That's the number 5 Corvette.
Yeah, the 5, last year's car. I guess it really locked up. Now you got to wonder, did it blind spot all its cars back there? If you look at the back of 79, 63 of Simcoe's lean going to the inside and passing.
It seems to have sorted out right now, and I wanted to point out that one of the concerns that a number of the teams had when the yellow comes out, placement of the pace car. First of all, let's go back and see what bumpy back there. Here, watch it from this perspective, Dorsey.
They did touch just a little bit. But the Corvette, I would think, has got some square tires now.
Very square tires. And also, as I was just about to say, the number 35 Maserati, the number 5 Corvette, the 63 Celine all got caught out by the placement of the pace car.
And we'll get into that a little later. What happens when the Maserati, when the overall leader passes you and has not passed your class leader, and the caution comes out, you end up going a lap down, and the other car gets pushed around. So very bad news for this Maserati and this Celine and 2 others car.
Maserati in great development for the American Le Mans Series does not run right now for points as it is out of the snow spec, but IMSA is allowing it to run. And what a great addition to the series. A beautiful car, a tremendous sounding car, and a pretty good driver contingent on board as well, and they just keep developing. Their problem is, as we saw at Sebring, they're not used to the bumps.
That's a pretty strong car, too, because when it jumped out there in the swamp, they just drug it back out of there. They washed it off clean, and off it goes again. Didn't even hurt it. It knocked out a bunch of little trees.
Yeah, that was deep woods off territory.
The fishing pole back there.
In GT2 right now, class being led by Romain Dumas and the number 23, Alex Job Racing. Lot of company right behind. There we go. There's the number 50 of Bill Oberlin, the 31 of Long. That's the Panos and the White Lightning Porsche.
And Olivia Beretta in the Corvette right in front of that group gave him a little hand gesturing, a little displeasure about they're racing each other so hard. He thought he should have been able to get through more cleanly. And of course, that's for their class position. So,
I was just going to say, I mean, when you're racing for position, you're not beholden necessarily to move over from the other classes to just let you slide on through. They're in a furious battle of their own.
Panos mixed up with the guys battling for third, but talked to the Panos team. They had a ruling that came down actually after qualifying and to change the front under tray. And Dorsey, you can probably talk about this a little bit. The ramps up underneath into the wheel wells that create a lot of downforce up front. The ACO made them cut about 4 inches off, and they've lost a lot of front downforce. Not only are they worried about corner entry and corner exit on the front end, they're also worried about locking up brakes. So keep an eye on both the 50 and the 51 Panos entries.
Well, you're right, Brian. What that is the under tray seals off air that would get underneath the car and up into the wheel where the wheel is. Now, when more air gets up in there, it pushes up on the underneath side of the hood. And fenders that makes the front end want to float or get light and lose a lot of grip when they reduce the length of the
That also would wreak havoc on tires, I would imagine, especially later in stints when you end up with a lot of push. That's second and third in there, right up front is Dumas, the number 23 car. That is first, second, and third in class right now.
Well, Dumas, of course, you know, like I said, when the Corvettes got in between them because of the pace car, these guys are not obligated to slow down or get out of the way of a quicker car because that's first, second, and third.
And traffic just accordions everything. One car gets through a little cleaner, a marginal build. Eventually, odds are, that car will get held up a little bit, and that margin will evaporate once again. But locking up those brakes is after maybe what you're talking about.
That's what Brian said. You're going to have to watch it in the brake zones. We see it right there locking a brake. Of course, it's very undulating track right there, and that aggravates it probably more.
A couple of different lines into some of these turns. Is that a function of the rear drive Porsche and the front engine Panos?
Or just the way these guys are reading the car. Maybe one's not handling more than the other one is. If you've got a tighter car, you got to turn a little bit more early if it's not willing to turn for you.
Working through the chicane, now through West Bend, and then into this diving turn. And boy, this turn just plummets away.
And this doesn't show you how steep it is, folks. You go out there in a street car, or if you went out there on roller skates, you'd be doing about 200 by the time you get to the bottom.
And screaming loud as you got to the bottom. I mean, it's just brutal to drop. Here's the change track. Oh, look again, that monster lockup. And if that's hunting for a flat spot, they could be in deep trouble.
The other thing that happened, guys, on that last pit stop, the 51 car with Marino Franchitti behind the wheel came in because they started on the soft Pirelli tire. They didn't think they could go a whole stint, so they took advantage of the yellow fuel and go with a harder compound. Oberlin may very well be out there on that soft compound right now, trying to find an advantage with less downforce downforce on the front, that advantage has gone away if he's going to keep locking them into turn one like that. You got to think those things have to be flat spotted.
Brian, you might be able to see him pretty soon if he keeps doing it. What happens when you flat spot a tire on a soft tire is it locks up. You see that smoke come off of it. It makes a little bitty square part right there.
You take a look at the graphic we have, you see those red numbers. There are 3 different sectors around the track, and that is the margin at each of the sectors, sector 1, sector 2, and then of course when they come by the start-finish line, that completes the lap, and there it is. You can see the time lost right there.
What happens then when you get back to that same brake zone is that little flat spot, as you get the brakes on where the car comes back, it stops on the very spot again, and ultimately what will happen is it will just completely wear off the rubber surface. You'll get to the cord and you'll explode a tire. Bill probably already knows he's aware of that. Now he's going to have to just brake a little bit lighter.
And for Patrick Long in chase mode, he's enjoying seeing all that smoke, because if it's consistent like that, he knows that this car may be in a bit of trouble, and if he can just kind of stay there, keep the pressure on, it may pay off in big dividends, with that car needing to hit the pits early, or perhaps having a tire go down, some sort of problem like that. So here's an example of traffic here, and this is our GT2 current standings. Welcome back to Lime Rock Park, everybody. Great shot. The aerial heading down into Big Bend, and that is first and second. Marco Werner in the ADT champion Audi, chased by Butch Leitzinger. Good look at Werner right there, and obviously, as Calvin alluded to at the very top of the show, this whole team is still full on the crowd. And Calvin, I'd imagine the guy you're standing by with is certainly still enjoying life.
Well, Greg, let's ask him. JJ, Le Mans victory, the second you've had in your career. Has it been a sweet last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been sweet. It's been busy. It's good for the fans and also for myself. You know, it took 10 years to get it again. So it's been a 10 years gap between the wins, and it was just one of those things that, you know, it really tastes good, and it's really good for the ADT champion racing as well, because it's the first American team in 40 years, privateer, to win it. So we did the work together, you know. We have been working really hard in the last 2.5 years and trying to do well in Le Mans and also in the ALMS series, and we have been getting better and better all the time, and this year we really showed to everybody that this is a top-class team.
You come from Le Mans, though. This is a very different racetrack, and you thought you'd struggle against the Dysons. I mean, Marco found incredible speed in qualifying. Right now you hold the point. The car must be working very well.
Yeah, it's Marco is really happy with the car as well. We found a good setup for a car, and I thought it's going to be really tough here against the Dysons, and it is all the time, of course, but it's we had the edge in the qualifying. We found a good setup, and of course we have some new Michelin tires as well, which are helping a lot. They are much better than what we used to have.
You certainly had a grueling 24 hours at Le Mans, but starting this week, you got a grueling ride. Tell the fans at home what you're going to be doing with Frank Wheeler.
Well, we're going to start tomorrow morning. We're driving from here to Sears Point, San Francisco, so it's like 2,700 miles with the bikes with Frank Wheeler. 8 days time. It's going to be good fun.
All right, I'm sure they're going to have some saddle sores at the end of that one, Greg.
Man, it's going to be a serious haul. That's almost what they ran in 24 hours at Le Mans, but to do it on motorcycles,
Cross-country motorcycle tour, they're going to be tired for sure. These guys, in the meantime, really having a battle. Marco Werner dropped 2 wheels off track back there in traffic, trying to hold off Butch Leitzinger, who was being real aggressive with him, but it all came around and went around. Now he's got a big lead again.
But yeah, that margin that we saw when we came back from break evaporated in traffic, then got caught, and away it goes again. And here's the telemetry. You can see the speeds as they head down this front straight over 170 miles an hour, then hard on the brakes.
It's not showing you G-force, and I can tell you, having driven the car, that it's generating well over 2.5 Gs on some of these corners. And since it's all right-hand corners at Lime Rock, your neck really takes a pummeling here as the race goes on.
They talked about how they came in, Calvin, in the interview with JJ, and that they found a great setup on this car. But this car has always been just remarkable over the bumps. And as bumpy as this track is, even relative to last year, did that play into the Audi's hands?
It is quite an amazing car to drive from the aspect of how well the dampening of the suspension works on that car in relation to the Dyson car. One thing about the Michelin tires that JJ is talking about is it also, Butch right there is on Michelin's. One thing on that car, though, when you switch from Michelin's from another branded tire, it wants 200 pounds more spring rate. Problem is here at Lime Rock, it's so bumpy, they can't put 200 pounds more spring rate on it. So a little bit off on the Dyson car.
Working that traffic, Butch badly balked right there, and that is just the nature of the beast here at Lime Rock. And Butch still in chase mode right now, trying to run down Marco Werner. And the margin opens and closes and opens and closes. And that's how it's going to be for the remainder of the afternoon, as Leitzinger right now going to get a little bit of a break as number one.
Like a
leader.
chess game.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you're driving around, it's like a chess game. You have to look out in front of you and see where you're going to catch cars, and you have to adjust your speed not to catch them in the wrong place.
All right, there's some interesting crew members watching. Here are your leaders in the 4 different classes running here at Lime Rock. And the Wild Bunch. Well, there you go. They were out doing a little testing on their bikes, where Mr. Bila and Leto out there up in the Berkshire Hills, just getting a feel for it. About 2,800 miles starting tomorrow. We're back at Lakeville, Connecticut, Lime Rock Park, 4th round of the American Le Mans Series, and up front, overall, Werner continues to lead over Leitzinger, but some of the cars that they are working through is the lead group in the GT2 division, where the battle remains very serious and fast-paced as well. And obviously, Doris, when you got the overall leaders working through a class leader, it's kind of interesting.
Well, the faster car you come to overtake, the harder it is to do, regardless if you're in the prototype car or if you're the GT car. And certainly timing around this racetrack is everything.
Go back and take a look at our GT2 battle. Here is the first car on your screen. That is Romain Dumas in the Hyatt Bell Micro entry. Then it is Bill Oberlin in Diablo Grande Canos Esperante. And third in the class now is still Patrick Long in the Westford Ho Casino machine right there. Here you can kind of see the gap between first, second, and third. Dumas hanging on right now. But right now, also Oberlin has up the ante just a little bit.
These guys have been trading back and forth depending on what traffic they catch, too. Remember, you can be held up in a slower car as well just by catching up with the cars that are side by side, not able to go as quickly as if they were single car.
Now keep in mind, the Alex Job, number 23 entry, got the win in Mid-Ohio, and that was one of 2 tracks that Alex Job had a great career. That team has never won at. The other one, right here in Lime Rock. They had the pole last year. They had a new record fast lap, but they weren't able to get the win. And we're going to show you that chase graphic once again. Remember the segments as it starts out. Oberlin is the one chasing, so the margins we're watching is Oberlin relative to the gentleman in front, and that's Dumas right now. And Oberlin, well, I tell you what, this traffic obviously hurt here.
Well, it can catch you off. And look right here, side by side, even though there's some drivers being courteous, it still slowed you up somewhat, 0.2 of a second at least.
That was the team car driven by Ian Boss. And you can see right there that first sector lost just a little bit. Oberlin did to Dumas. And certainly Boss, as he recognizes that it is his teammate coming through, is going to let him go. By the way, that number 24 entry had a quick drive-through penalty in the pits for speeding. They stopped during that first yellow and got caught up. And there's what you're talking about. That traffic, the flow changed. Now he closes in a little bit.
Exactly. He picked up, right 0.141 of a second. Wow, good gosh. That was a good move right there. You don't want to get trapped, and you can see right there the frustration of not wanting to get trapped. You have to be very aggressive.
But at the end, he ended up losing some time because all that traffic and the diving turn. And so keep that in mind, folks, when we go to that chase graphic. If it's a green number, the chasing car is closed up. If it's a red number, they've lost a little time. And Brian Till, it's just an accordion out there right now.
Robin Liddell was actually behind the wheel of that Panos when it got its first victory earlier this year, Robin. But ACO taking a little bit of downforce away from you guys. You seem very quick right now. How much of an effect is that downforce having?
Well, we're running the car in the same specifications we were at Le Mans, and I'd rather not say any more than that at this stage. But anyway, we seem to be holding in second position quite well, and the car looks pretty quick at the moment. I think the tires, expect the Pirelli tires to hold together very well throughout the stint. I know Bill's had a couple of problems locking up the inside front going into turn 1, but aside from that, the car looks to be in pretty good shape.
Traffic around this racetrack too. We've seen the gap get bigger and smaller because of traffic out there. The car seems very fast, but I'm going to ask about the downforce again. It seems to be holding you up in traffic.
Well, it's obviously a difficult circuit to pass on, and as you know, with the 4 classes all racing against each other, there's cars lapping you. Some of the cars in quicker classes aren't necessarily that much quicker than our car, and in some instances you'll see where that basically holds us back, and we lose a little bit of time relative to the leader of the GT2 class.
Well, Robin Liddell, obviously a smart race car driver on the racetrack and as well as off. He doesn't want to talk a lot about the changes they've made, Greg.
Well, one of the things that makes Lime Rock such a hard racetrack to set your car up for is that all these bumps we're talking about. Now, when you have a really bumpy racetrack, you want to run with a soft spring so the thing will just ride over the bumps. Now, that would be fine except for this downhill plummet where you really smash the suspension into the ground. It needs some springs to hold it up off the ground, Calvin.
Well, the number 31 car started from the pole. Patrick Long, his very first ALMS pole position. He's very comfortable with the car here. They run a new shock setup. It's a German shock absorber called KW. The team have tested with it extensively. It's been working very well here over the bumps at Lime Rock. I just checked in with the team, and Dale White, the crew chief there, said, you know what, we have pressure in the number 50 car, but I was really starting to abuse the tires. One thing that this team is looking to do, they feel pretty confident they can do this race on one stop. So that set of tires has to last over an hour and 23 minutes here. So you certainly have to baby them to get it to that point, Doss.
And what you were talking about, Calvin, with the dampers or the shock absorbers on the car, if you're going to have to run a softer spring because of these bumps, then you're going to have to run a lot of shock absorber to take care of the travel of that wheel. And that's what you're talking about there. But an hour and a half on these tires around here, Cal, I think that's going to be a tough one to do.
Currently sitting in the third spot, the number 31 in GT1. We have the 63 now in the hands of Terry Borcheler. Has picked up a spot, gone around the number 5 on Alex Figge. We're going to go back and show you that pass.
You see him working around the inside of the big bend or turn 1, if you will. Gets to the inside, which is what you have to do. Forces the Corvette out of the way. Good for him, gets that thing. We heard a report from Terry Borcheler, though, at the end of that lap that he said it is so rough, the bumps are so bad going into turn 1, he can't get his downshifts in.
Guys, Terry Borcheler had to start dead last in that number 63 of Simcoe Saleen. They did not pass the airbox test at the end of the qualifying, and Dorsey, I'll let you elaborate on that, but he had to start in the back. The benefit was he did get to start on new tires, so he's been on a charge to the front, but it has not all been good. He said the car is diabolical as the fuel load is burning down. There was also some strange rubbing noise at the beginning, but he seems to be soldiering on right now, up to third. 5 car is now on pit road.
We watched that 5 pit stop where we have the driver's change there. That airbox that you were talking about, Brian, they have a sealed airbox where they put the inlet restrictor in. By rules, when you put your hands over those inlet restrictors, the engine's got to die, meaning it's not sucking air from anywhere else. Their engine did not die, and they got a resulting penalty. Now we watch this pit stop.
Ryan?
Alex Figge got out. Ryan Dial is getting in. They'll take 4 new Yokohama tires. This team very pleased with the tire development that's gone on. Don't forget, Yokohama actually won at Le Mans in the GT2 class this year, so they have come a long way with their tire development. Right now, the boys down here at Pacific Coast very happy with their Yokohama tires, and they're learning every track they go to, and every time they get the car, Ryan Dial is away.
Brian, I looked at that left rear tire as it came off. You didn't see it. There's a big gash or a big slice in that. I think it's the left rear I saw. It was one of the left side tires had a big old, about 3 or 4 inch cut, I could see.
Well, it's a big old bit of contact.
There you go.
It's over 63, so I think maybe cause effect there.
Yeah, I think that could have been a slow leaking tire right there.
All right, meanwhile, DL now behind the wheel. He is back out. Fans enjoying it, the warmth, the great weather. This is GT1, your current top 5 here at Lime Rock. And of course, a very special weekend here. A lot of celebration and also just a lot of fun. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by New Mobil 1 Extended Performance, the oil that's changing oil, and by Michelin, a better way forward. Back at Lime Rock, just over 50 minutes completed this 2-hour and 45-minute contest. And Marco Werner, who put the car on pole in record time with an incredibly good lap, has been able to parlay that pace, Calvin, into a pretty amazing lead right now.
Well, he's got a healthy lead, and we talked about at the beginning of the show how strategy will play a key part in the victory here this afternoon. Now, we know that the Michelins can double stint both on the Dyson car and on the lead Audi. The question is, when do you decide to do the double and then the single? Right now, what we believe the lead teams will do if it remains green as they get to the end of this fuel run is probably keep the drivers in the car on the same set of tires and then hopefully try and grab a yellow a little bit later in the event when they do the driver change and changing tires. So right now, the ball is up in the air. The guys have to be extremely flexible and really just watching this racetrack, looking at track position. But I believe if we see a green flag stop, we'll probably see Marco Werner do the double stint today.
And one other thing that can play into the strategy of this pit stop is the fact that the Dyson cars can probably go at least 2, maybe 3 more laps on their fuel. So once this number 1 Audi comes in for its stop, it's going to lose a lap to that car. Had a caution come out, and then it'll be a lap down track when they make that pit stop. We'll have to watch that strategy as well.
You just saw in the graphic that was ballooned to about 7 seconds for Werner over Leitzinger. As you might expect here, it's not really pace, it's traffic. Watch this.
The Corvette, now they're going to go 3 wide on no name, and you can't do it. Little contact right there, almost took the nose in the 16. You just can't, it's not wide. Limerock is not a wide racetrack. It's so bumpy, you just can't do those moves.
And that was probably 3 seconds well there.
All 3 of them were slow as a result of that.
That's how it can happen. Now, what Leitzinger needs to hope for is that something similar will befall Werner and allow him to close that up a little bit. Now, in that last lap, he found a couple of chances now back under 7 seconds. But right away, he gets caught up, but not a bad spot here.
That's a good point that was made, though, Greg. With running these races like I have in the past year, you don't get frustrated. Don't give it up now, because it will come back around. It'll get Marco too. You just got to have confidence.
Working traffic right here. There's the number 5 Corvette, of course, that got into the bumping incident, and obviously there was a cut tire, as Dorsey spotted. Brian, was it cause effect?
Greg, Alex, Biggie, and I were just talking, and we were talking about the competition around the racetrack. It's a bit busy out there.
Absolutely. I mean, most of my stints have been pretty much on my own, other than the prototype car. But that one, we were right in the mix with our class, and it's pretty hairy, especially compared to open wheel.
A lot of traffic out there, like we were just talking about. We were just listening to contact on the back straightaway, but it looks like you and the 63 car got together down there and cut down one of the Yokohamas.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get around one of the Porsches there. I think that was my teammate from last year, actually. But I thought 63 car didn't have enough room, and so when I came down, he was already there. But you know, it was we're having a good race out there, and something had to give, I guess. So I'm sure Ryan's doing a good job.
Alex got out of the car and he said, "Hey, we're racing for positions. I'm not just going to give it to him." And there's a lot more contact than there is in an Atlantic car.
Well, that's a fact. He talked about his teammate. That's John Fogarty. He was driving one of the Flying Lizard Porsches. They were teammates in Atlantic last year. He made that point. This is a whole different ballgame than a single-seater sprint race.
Well, when you do a 1.5 miles at 47 seconds with 25, 30 cars on the racetrack, you never get a clear lap. You always catch traffic. And that's the whole key to winning or losing here at Lime Rock. Knowing that that's the case, get through that traffic cleanly.
Now, we've been watching Fellows behind DL here for quite some time, and Fellows is on the clear, been running laps quite a bit quicker, but that's an example of how tough it is to pass around this track as well.
And you saw Ron might have been able to get alongside.
Car and Audi, 1 car back now. He's behind the Corvette there.
That's Dan Binks, the crew chief, telling Ron about the traffic coming up from behind, and that's things at Lime Rock you have to know that, because you can plan the strategy not looking out the front. You can also plan your strategy looking out the back.
Well, you've often referred to this as basically a right-hand oval with that one left-hand corner.
It's right there. They're right there now. The 20 car and that other Audi are racing pretty hard.
Well, one concern for the drivers out there in the field today is that these GT1 cars with the high rear ends, it's very difficult to see cars coming up behind them.
He's in there. Sorry.
Car off, I believe, Greg.
And it is, and that was number 3 Fellows, and that's in the diving turn.
And that was, he moved out wide to give those cars, those passing cars, and he got in the, and a big wreck. This is not Ron's first crash down there. He did a Trans Am wreck there years ago. You're 130 miles an hour right there, folks. That's a big hit.
You can see the damage to, well, pretty much the front and left side, but it's rolling.
Watch here now, is that first the Dyson car. See, he just gets offline and there was no grip. Out in that grass, now it's wet, and this runs out of room.
Well, that line of tires with that banding on it, the belting on it, that was huge.
Like I say, 100+ miles an hour, and you're going to get into this tire wall. That tire wall did a great job. Lucky didn't get up in the air. They saw it bounce twice.
They didn't used to have that banded like that.
No,
I mean, that was huge in terms of making this a lot less bad than it could have been.
When Ron crashed in the Trans Am, he hit that barrier directly without that safety wall. It was a much worse result. And that's why I'm sitting up here.
There you go. And that's why you hear the engine and not the driver in those onboard shots a lot of times.
Been there, done that. I mean, all that was moving a little bit on time to give some room to the guys passing. But look what happens. You get into the marbles, car doesn't turn.
All that smoke is just tire rub that you see driving through there. Boy, to add insult to injury, when he got back on the track, he was so far off the driver's left in the traffic coming, he couldn't dive across straight into the pit.
We're doing that in the seatbelt.
So he had to do a whole lap like that.
Correct. Wow, now we hear that the pits are closed. He'll have now even worse of a problem than he had before because he won't be able to. Well, there he is stopped in his pit.
Work on the car, don't work on the car.
Dan Biggs, tell him right, don't touch that car right now, pits are closed.
And that is one of the things that you get is a little bit of give in terms of the regulations. If you do pit when the pits are closed, you cannot work on the car either. The number 10 ducked into the pits with Bucknam on board. Pits are closed. They realize their error, and they are heading back out on track. So for them, it's simply a matter of some lost time. But that was Dan Biggs. That's why Dan Biggs is Dan Biggs. He knew that rule and said you had to come in, you had damage, but you can't work on the car until the pits are open. Once the pits are open, then you can start working on it. So, okay, now there's been a clarification, we understand.
Right, we're hearing now that when Ron got to pit lane, they were getting ready to close it, but it wasn't closed yet, so they told him it's okay, you can work on your car. On the other hand, 10 came in under when it was already closed, so that car had to go back out.
So, the number 3 gets some work done, gets Johnny O'Connell behind the wheel. We are full course caution to clean up from the incident of the number 3 CompuWare. Jean Richard is the official timekeeper of the American Le Mans Series, and they welcome you back to Lime Rock Park for this 4th round of the American Le Mans Series Championship chase. We continue under caution the incident of the number 3 CompuWare Corvette. Ron Fellows behind the wheel down in the diving turn. Great crowd on hand here enjoying this absolutely glorious day. And one of the reasons for the yellow, it wasn't a big amount of debris, it wasn't a lot of crash damage, but those tires with that banding on it got knocked awry, and now it would be much more rough if somebody got into straightening those out.
That's correct. The Corvette came out better than the tire wall, got pushed way back. Now they'll take a truck and get it hooked onto that. They're all banded together. They'll drag it back out there before we go back to green.
Let's take a look at our Mobil 1 race summary. Time remaining, 1 hour 42 and some seconds. Still leading, Marco Werner, as he has from the outset. No cars out of the race at this stage, but we are in our second caution period of the event at this point, and we're getting the official word that next time by for these teams, anybody needing to maybe get in and get some work done, or at this stage you may see some people taking advantage. I would think fuel, tires, etc. Pits will be open the next time by. Now, of course, 2 weeks ago, we were in Le Mans and watching an amazing race unfold there, but perhaps even more amazing was the race from Le Mans, the checkered flag, to get ready for the first green flag of the weekend here.
Bobby Green, my number 1, and Greg Kiwi Martin, my engine guy, and myself, we had to go to the tech inspection immediately following the race and attend to the car and pump it and measure it and all that stuff. We got done, we got the garage closed up. That night, after making a show car out of the bodywork that immediately went on a transporter that evening after the race to go to Copenhagen for a sponsor duty. So after the race, we took the car apart. We put all the bodywork on another show car so that it could be used by the sponsor in part of their celebration. Next, we partied a little bit, and then next morning arrived at the circuit, 8 o'clock in the morning. We loaded freight, 20,000 kilograms of air freight is what we sent and received. 80 wheels and tires, 80 wheels, 5 engines, 2 chassis, a spare chassis, 5 gearboxes, 8 sets of bodywork. And all this stuff had to be fingerprinted by sweat of the brow. There's no other way to do it. Unshowered and uncleaned and exhausted, we all rode on the bus to Paris. We arrived Paris 12:40 in the evening. No dinner, no anything. Stayed in the hotel, flew out next morning. Everybody back to the United States, had basically a day at home. So the guys picked up the air freight and packed trucks all day on Friday, and then they left Saturday morning for Lime Rock. They arrived Sunday evening. The team arrived Sunday evening, and we started in this week on the rebuilding process. The boys put their head down. They're all real tired, but they're in good spirits, and obviously to come away from that with a win, it gave a boost to everybody.
I've said it. Calvin?
Well, JJ Leto and the champion team now head out back onto the track. There's a very fast stop, and the number 2 car side by side with a 16 machine. That was tight indeed. Big battle there for second position on track. And the Corvette, the number 4 team, lead in GT1. They head out after a routine stop.
Calvin side by side indeed. They took the cones with them. I see a cone under the left front of the 16. I saw one get chucked out before. Take a look at this, folks. Oh, when he gets sideways, it gets on the boost. That's where the cones got hit. Watch this car jump sideways. He gets on turbo boost, almost loses it.
Sent one cone bouncing right over the top of the Audi.
And he's got rid of the other one too, somewhere along the way.
And that is now Weaver on board. Here's the number 43 BAM entry down in the pits. Rockefeller's the starting driver. Cal?
Well, he's turning over to Will Pencil, and this man is magic behind the wheels of a Porsche. They're currently lying in 6th, but that's probably just because of the track position with this yellow coming out. And they've been very fast, very happy with these Yokohama tires. So looks like a routine stop. Let's go down to Brian with the 10.
Calvin, another routine stop down here at Miracle Motorsports. Jeff Bucknam is out. Chris McMurray is getting in. They're going to take fuel, and the tire technicians looking at these Kumho tires right now. It'll be interesting to see if they double stint them. Usually teams, when they change the driver and they take that amount of time, they will go ahead and change tires. But I'm surprised to not see there are no tires out. So I think they're going to double stint these tires and single stint the drivers.
And I'm sure this team is making very special track of the amount of time the drivers spend in the cars. That's what caught them out in mid-Ohio. So they've got McMurray in to make sure that he gets adequate time behind the wheel of his car. And there goes Will Hensler out onto the track. And he was talking about this guy being magic in a car last year in the Porsche Super Cup, Michelin Super Cup Championship, which is a very prestigious series. They had 12 races. He won 9.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Wolf's really good behind one of these cars. And when he came here and found this rough old bumpy racetrack that I know so well, he said, what is this? This is right. And it's had a hard time coming to grips with it. I can understand that. It's a really rough thing.
And McMurray is going to come out, but no, he drives right by a red flag there at pit out.
He did. Another penalty for that one, I believe.
And it was, I mean, the official even leaned over to try and help him out just a little bit, but perhaps focused on something in the cockpit, didn't see it, and drove right by that red flag and is back out on track. So possibly more to develop there at this stage for the team that is leading in the LMP2 category. Let's go back. And Dorsey, I mean, it was just right. Watch the official right here.
To your left. Here's your man with the red flag.
Look at that.
Look, he sticks it right in his face and he drives out there. I also saw him driver shaking his head, which means he's been told on the radio, hey, guess what? You're coming back.
Oh boy, so the problems continue for what is a very good team, and luck just going against them big time right now. We'll be back to Lime Rock and hopefully a green flag soon. Welcome back, everybody. And we are green. Pace car is in. Green flies. Weaver on it big time. Leto defending. Pirro trying to get underneath Weaver. And it looked like it was going to develop, and it ended up going real mellow. And immediately get some traffic. That is a car that had just left pit lane. Everybody slides through, but both Pirro and Weaver were looking antsy.
It was Pirro who made that very interesting. Had he not given up on that ugly-looking scenario going into West Main, all three of those guys would be parked right now. Take another look at this. I mean, it was an aggressive start by both Weaver and Pirro. Watch Pirro on the third car frame. Almost there could have been contact.
but Weaver almost got the jump, almost got to the back of Lato, didn't he?
And there, an aggressive move by Weaver again to outbreak Pirro. That's James for you. He was my teammate for a long time, and that's the most aggressive driving guy you'll ever meet.
I've never seen anybody, I don't think, as aggressive and decisive in traffic either. Just, he's by you before you know he's there sometimes.
A remarkable feel for that car. I mean, he does all the chassis setup and work with that, and he's just got an uncanny knack of knowing what he can get away with, and he puts it right to the limit.
Ironically, though, when I was talking to Rob Dyson, he said that going to the Michelin tire, because of what you're talking about, it's actually caught James out maybe more than others, because when the car gets a set of the they react differently than they do other than the Goodyear did. He said James is so comfortable with that set of the Goodyear tires, it's taking him a little bit to get used to it. As we go back to GT2, there's the number 31 Porsche, which made a very late stop with the yellow. Bergmeister is behind the wheel, and that car has worked its way up into the third spot, and it is now, as a result of that stop, has slipped back just a little. Actually, it still sits third, so they played that strategy very nicely with that late yellow. Look there at the number 51 Panos, still in the hands of Marino Franchitti. Bank of Scotland entry, and there's the number 50 entry. That is our GT2 leader, and Robin Liddell now behind the wheel of that Diablo Grande entry.
Robin Liddell, of course, we were talking to him, and although he's not divulging anything about aerodynamics on that car, he is doing a really good job behind the wheel.
Obviously, that team running Pirelli tires, and they have been very pleased, they say, with the work and the progress that Pirelli has made. And obviously, that package is pretty decent, having pulled off that great win at Road Atlanta. And look at this, we've got a move for the lead. It looks like Weaver is through.
No surprise to me whatsoever. He will be so uncannily hounding if you're, it'd be better. If I was in the Audi, I would let Weaver through right now and just follow him, because him behind me is not pretty.
Now, he wasted no time, as you said, just a few laps after that restart. He was by. We're going to go back and show you another look at it in its entirety here.
Nice long shot up the front straightaway, looking down at the corner we call Big Bend because of the length of that corner. A good outbraking to the inside, no tire lockup at all. Great job. Nips to the inside. And look how much that little car bounces around on the racetrack.
Obviously runs lighter than the Audis, and it looks as though Pirro thought about it at any rate, but it looked like in that...
1.2.
That is Bob. That's Bob Leitzinger, longtime veteran sports car champion, telling James Weaver where he is on the track in position to where the Audis are on time.
Champion back in the day, very talented driver, but it looked to me like on that pass, it almost looked like Lato thought Weaver might try something, moved over, Weaver never moved. Lato came back, then Weaver went.
Yeah, well, at least all the guys on the Audi team are quite aware of James Weaver and his persona. They're not going to think he's given up.
And then you watch his pace down to that diving turn and the like, and with clear track, Weaver can throw down some very quick laps, and that last lap was 49.1 second lap for Weaver. Calvin.
Well, his teammate Butch Leitzinger was checking in with the boss, Rob Dyson, and Butch. Great opening stint there, run second, but James on this restart has just been sensational, forcing his way to the front.
Yeah, I thought that James was going to be something to reckon with, but I didn't think he'd do it that quickly. I missed it. I was apologizing to Peter for being so slow, and then I heard a big cheer, and everyone saw James in the lead. That's pretty impressive, because I thought on the lap we seemed to be a couple seconds off, but the Weaver factor brought us ahead.
This racetrack, very difficult. How is traffic out there this afternoon, which is always a problem here?
Well, traffic's huge here. Where a couple times I gained probably 4 seconds in a lap, and just as many I lost 4 or 5 seconds in a lap. So you really extend yourself to try to get past the cars, because if you don't, you lose so much momentum, and you just lose all contact.
James Weaver's certainly not losing any momentum, Greg, and Butch Leitzinger, well, he's looking for his second major sports car victory in the last 4 days.
Oh, Weaver almost made a mistake there trying to get greedy around Maserati, locks the brakes up because he's under pressure from the Audi. Pirro now wanting a piece of him. I've driven for both of these teams. I know both the different drivers and so forth, and Weaver told me one thing about these new tires that he's working with is, unlike the other tires, he can't drive as aggressively, if you can believe that, because of the tire itself doesn't warrant him letting it slide the back of the car like he used to do.
Yeah, he came up behind that Maserati and locked up, slid wide. Was lucky not to have Lato go underneath. Then Lato got blocked a little bit, and look at the room Weaver is giving.
Well, that's that cut through Dyson thing that Dyson's get it. Weaver likes to do. He likes to just really throw the car back and forth, try to confuse the people around him. And I tell you, it works to a certain degree. When you see those cars darting around, you think something's going on.
So what, he's doing it to hope that maybe a little wider berth, somebody chasing him?
Doing that, sometimes he'll do it out of anger just because he doesn't like the other guy's maneuver that he's passing. He'll chop him like that just to be aggressive. He's very aggressive.
Boy, right there, he gets the pass done, and that's going to hold up Lato, and that is that give and take. That happens in traffic. Weaver built up the margin, got caught behind the Maserati. Lato had him, and now Lato gets held up just a little bit. And boy, I'll tell you what, the video game here at Lime Rock continues. It is amazing. Tonight on Speed, it's an all-new NASCAR Nation with Leanne Tweeden. Off track and in depth, it's NASCAR beyond the fast lane. Leanne brings you a never-before-seen side of America's #1 motorsport. Catch the all-new NASCAR Nation tonight, 7 Eastern, exclusively on Speed. And there is Weaver, and he has now opened up a bit of a margin. There was a huge traffic jam that he was beating his way through with great effectiveness, and now has the biggest bit of breathing room he's had in some time.
What they did was they caught all of the other GT cars that were racing for position and had to work their way through. The Weaver got through it pretty much on the straightaway. The rest of these got it.
That is the 50 leading currently in the GT2 division. That is the Esparati. It's now Robin Liddell, of course, was, as they talked about, behind the wheel at Road Atlanta. And Robin, obviously, is pretty adept at hustling this car around the track. Well, as they say, that drops a tire.
Yeah, he hustled the car off the track right there, but not too bad. I mean, that's just next to that chicane. At least you're not going as quickly as if you made a mistake right here.
And he comes down the front straight, goes by Brian Tilley, standing by with the gentleman who started the car.
Greg, Bill Oberlin took that Panos to the lead. Bill, 2 questions for you. One, the car looks very fast on its own, but traffic seems to really be playing havoc on that downforce.
Well, coming into this race, we lost a few bits and made some front downforce, so now it's very hard in traffic with the downforce issue. But we're surviving. It's just really hot out there. John Panos built an awesome car. He also, at the same time, built an incinerator. It's really good. I mean, we can go into many businesses with this thing. It's very fast. We can see the rally tires last. We can creep up on the Michelins after a while. Now it's in Robin's head. Let him fight this thing out.
I wanted to ask you about the Pirelli tires. You guys opted to start on the harder compound. Seemed to pay off a little bit. It seemed like they could take the punishment of some lockup.
Yeah, well, there you go. We could have run a softer compound. It was definitely quicker. They said, let's go with the harder compound, and it'll run the whole race if we wanted to. So now he can just abuse it.
Well, it's all in the hands of Robin Liddell now, and right now looking really strong, Greg.
Well, it turned out all the practices this weekend, it's been very cool, nice New England temperatures up here. Not today. Today it warmed right on up, about 88 or 90 degrees, and the guys in these cars feel that heat. It'll be 140 degrees. You see there's no windows open on that car, no air conditioning in that car, and it's got a big old V8 pumping up right there.
And you can see the margin that they've been able to develop as here, the white car, the number 31, the Westward Ho Casino engine sits in the second spot, and just a couple of cars behind them. There it is, the white 23, now in the hands of Timo Bernhard, and the lap car between them, and driving in the 31 right now is Jordan Bergmeister. So, boy, strength to strength in these GT2 cars.
And like I said, the Porsche Brigade has had some trouble with the bumps, and watch the back of the car in particular, as both of these, all 4 of these Porsches jump up and down all over the place, Brian.
Guys, don't forget the 23 car with Romain Dumas behind the wheel was leading early on, but they opted to wait very late in that full course yellow to dive to pit lane to do their pit stop. So late, in fact, that the green flag came out while they were sitting on pit road. And that's what really moves them back in the serial right now. I think that car is very strong. Look forward to trying to start marching towards the car.
All right, Brian, thanks. And by the way, the car that's in between the White Lightning entry and the Alex Job Hyatt entry is the number 44, Lonnie Texas, Motorsports entries, running pretty quickly. P2 is what we're watching right now, up to 13th overall, and that is the car of Chris McMurray. And Dorsey, they had a long penalty that they have now served, thus the reason they dropped back so far.
We went to the commercial break showing that he passed the red flag. He got a 100-second penalty, and I bet that didn't make the team all that happy, Cal.
Well, let's check in with him, John Macaluso. I mean, you seem to be reinventing a new way of losing one of these races. You're always fast, you're always leading. What happened there with Chris with the red flag?
I don't know. I guess red doesn't mean what it means to most of us. But anyway, he took off under the red. That's a 2-lap penalty. And then when he went out there, he had some contact with one of the Audis. And after our deal in Atlanta, we wanted to make sure we didn't have another one of those. So we just thought we'd tighten the race up, NASCAR style or something.
Making it exciting. You're over in Le Mans. You certainly had a great chance at victory there, and unfortunately a rules violation took you out of the running. But talk about the experience as a team owner and a driver for you, John.
Well, you know, seldom does an event, you know, meet or exceed every expectation you've had for so long, and then he lived up to all of it with the exception of the result. And I was very pleased we were third in our class when that happened, and running the pace that we wanted to do in the car, quite frankly, is on the track the way it came off of Le Mans. So I think we'd have done well.
Okay, well, they've led every race this year, but they've only won the opener at Sebring, Greg.
Thanks, Calvin. And Chris McMurray is a businessman who got involved in motorsports at a relatively late age. At 34, he got into some Formula Mazdas and got hooked on it, and has now put together a program that helps him run, and running at the front of a class. You're just joining us for this 4th round at Lime Rock. Here's a look back at the start. It was frantic, but amazingly, everybody made it through the first couple of corners, somewhat unheard of sometimes here. However, later on, the number 71 Carsport Viper had a quick off, got fired into the water. That ended up causing a caution, under which the number 20 of Andy Wallace pitted. Problems with the paddle shift system in that car. Then, after we got back to going, the number 63 Celine gets into the side of the number 5 Corvette, necessitating a stop for the number 5. And then, in traffic, getting lapped, the number 3 of Ron Fellows, the Corvette, a big off in the diving turn. Car remarkably fairly decent after the yellow caused by that. Leaving the pits, the number 16, now Weaver behind the wheel, gets loose, nails some cones, but didn't slow him down much as a couple of laps later dove underneath the number 1 in the hands of J.J. Lato, and James Weaver picked up the point, and there he remains. As a matter of fact, that now live, and that is the margin that Weaver has. It's been bigger, it's been smaller, it has always been exciting.
The 2 Audis are running better lap times than Weaver is right now. I've been watching James, and some of that's been the traffic, but not necessarily all of it. They're running a couple of 3/10 quicker than he is, and that surprises me.
Well, they did come here. The champion team has talked about the fact that they have really got a setup on the car that works well with the so obviously the lower is lighter, and in certain ways that's a plus, but in other ways that really moves it around a lot more over the bumps, doesn't it?
It definitely does. No question that lighter car takes a beating, you know, with rough Lime Rock.
Got it, Big Ben, Weaver, then Lato, then Puro. Continues to be the top 3. Now, Andy Wallace, just so you know, is up to 4th in the P1 category, 4th overall, but he is a lap plus down at this stage because of that early stop. On this track, that's awfully tough to make up unless you luck into a yellow at just the exactly right time when the pace car comes out, you get a wave around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a long day for them.
And of course, he's shifting manually instead of the paddle shift, so he's going to be slower just by that virtue alone.
Yeah, you forget sometimes until you get to a track like this just how incredibly crucial pit stops can be on a track where the lap speeds and lap times are this close. Calvin Fish?
Well, Greg, Ron Fellows had a chance to look at that replay during the highlight package. And Ron, what was the perspective from inside the car?
Well, I didn't think he was coming. You know, when I checked going down the hill, he looked far enough back that I was going to be able to get through. And I turn in and sort of glance, and he wasn't there, which means he was inside. And at that point, you know, as soon as I turned in, I was just a little offline, and it's so dirty it just sucked me off the road. So
a big hit, but it looks like the car was in not too bad a shape when the crew got out there. I mean, changed the tires and taped it up a little bit. What's Johnny saying on the radio?
Yeah, I guess they've done some damage to the nose. Don't have quite the same arrow, but that thing is pretty darn tough. I see it on a replay. I hit that thing pretty hard, but nah, it's unfortunate. I feel bad for the guys, but I just am not really pleased with the miscommunication there.
Okay, well, certainly traffic a factor here today, but they'll try and trundle around here, score some points. That GT1 championship is very tight right now with the Corvette scores.
Brian, I'm sorry, Calvin, we were listening in on his radio right before the crash, and his spotter, right after the crash, got on and said, my bad, I didn't get to tell you that he was inside you. I saw it, and I just didn't get the button pressed.
That communication, obviously, what he was alluding to, is so crucial in a situation like this. Back to the GT2 battle, and it is hot up just a little bit here. This for second, the number 31 of Dirk Bergmeister, right behind now the number 23 of Timo Bernhard. And these two guys have raced together, they've raced against each other, and they are both ultra fast. And this is a great scrap for second right now. Liddell's got a bit of a margin, some 4 seconds at this stage, but this battle is fierce.
Yeah, you know, they could probably not want to run side by side with each other. I think the Panos run away from them right now. These two need to work together.
Again, the car number 31, the Peterson White Lightning entry, also with a great lap by Patrick Long who started the car. But of interest, I think, here is the fact that in this third place car, Bernhard behind the wheel, this is one of the, I think, the only remaining track in the ALMS schedule that Alex Joe Racing has never won on. And so this is a big one for these guys trying to pull one off with the team owner. But right now, these two guys battling for second, and that Panos looking awfully good, as they said, on a clear track. I'm
really surprised by the Panos. I mean, those guys have worked really hard to make that car as good as it is. And when you watch the comparison between that Panos and these two Porsches, the Panos looks rock steady. The two Porsches jumping and bobbing and weaving all over the place.
Speaking of weaving, Weaver is going to come right through this battle right now. Comes by one. Gets bogged just a little bit. Oh boy, got parked at this stage as they head up for the chicane right now. And it's going to affect this battle a little bit. Ooh, a little loose as well.
Yeah, he's really on the hammer down right there, trying to get away from the Audi, who he knew was going to get a pounce on him because he was getting held up.
And at this stage, they come to the diving turn. Now, there's some space for everything to sort out. With that, we're going to get down to Calvin.
Well, the leaders are certainly plowing their way through the GT2 cars right now, Greg, and one of those drivers was out there earlier, Pat Long. Pat, looked like you guys got the jump on the Alex Job guys in the pit lane, but talk about that Panos. You ran behind the 50 machine earlier in the race. Compare the Porsche and the Panos. What are the strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, I was able to get up there behind Bill after a wild start to the race. I had a few to pick through, but when we closed up on that first yellow flag, the car was running pretty well. The Porsche had a little bit better power on top, but the Panos has real good handling over the bump, so it's a pretty fair shake between the Pirelli and the Michelin as well, so it's a good race out there.
I know going into the event you felt you could do this on one stop, but with that yellow, I don't think you'd stretch it the rest of the way. We assume you need a splash here at the end?
Yeah, it all depends on how many yellows there are from here on in, but if it goes green all the way through, we're thinking we might have to splash, but we're going to keep those cards in our pocket until the end.
All right, Pat, good luck. Let's go down to Brian.
Calvin Romain-Dumas led a large percentage of the beginning of this race. Romain, the Porsche looked very, very strong, but it looks like you guys got caught out with a late pit stop.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a specialist in strategy, but that's sure that we were in front quite easily, and now we are P3, so I am a little surprised and disappointed, but wait and see, 1 hour to go. We are really quick, but here it's not easy to pass. It's a short track, just one place for overtake, so we will see.
Well, he says we will see, guys. It'll be interesting to see if they need another stop as well. We got to believe they probably will. Greg?
Well, he certainly did an incredible job of qualifying. As a matter of fact, I think this is a fascinating stat. Last year, he got the nod to qualify 4 times and result 4 poles. Our leader in GT1 is in the pits, and a report is a flat tire. Oliver Gavin behind the wheel right now. And going up in the air, bringing tires up, but Calvin, it looks kind of casual.
It does. I think it caught the crew by surprise. It must have been a late call by Ollie here. Maybe they saw on the telemetry a tire suddenly going down, but I don't see a flat tire. The car rolls to a stop. Looked like it certainly had some air in all of the tires, but these guys are dynamite on these starts. We saw at Le Mans in the battle with the Astons. These guys can change tires in right around 10 seconds with the new strategy they're using. Now they're going to go to refueling. So they opted to do the servicing first and then the fueling. You can't do it both at once, of course, in this form of competition. The car has to be on the deck when the fuel goes in. They're going to top it up. It should be about half a tank full, a short fill here, and he should be back underway.
One of the strengths of Doug Meehan's Corvette racing team is just what you saw. No panic whatsoever. No matter what the situation, they work like it was just all thought to be that way. And it keeps them going without going laps down.
Comes out right in front of that battle for second in GT2. When they made that stop, according to the timing and scoring monitors, they had a lap plus in hand over the second place Maserati. So that was a very quick stop, and they may very well have retained that first spot. The report was, now we get the update, the left rear wasn't flat, but was definitely apparently deflated, losing air. Sensed it, came in, and of course averted what could have been something much worse a couple laps down the road.
You can't have a flat tire around here without catastrophic consequences with the load that you put on these right-hand corners.
All right, so they get out, they are back, and we will cycle through and see if they were able to hang on to the lead. We believe they will. And absolutely beautiful here in Lime Rock Park. People enjoying a 4th of July weekend. It's great racing. Welcome back once again to Lime Rock Park, Connecticut. Hour 38 minutes into this 2-hour 45-minute contest, and James Weaver, bad place to get hung up behind a car, especially Dorsey. Watch the well, he moves over, and that's going to blunt Leno getting a run here down to the turn. But you've been watching Weaver, and you think that maybe that's not necessarily all that healthy right there.
Weaver's car is really loose in the back. I mean, he's been very aggressive driving, don't get me wrong there. But everywhere he comes out the corner hard, he's coming off sideways with big power slides. The rear tires are there up on the pressure. The temperature's hot on the rear, are just simply starting to go off. And these two Audis behind him are definitely faster.
And the number 20 in the hand still of Andy Wallace makes a move down pit lane. Cal?
Well, these guys obviously on a different strategy here with all the problems with the gearbox early in the race, so this is pretty much routine for the strategy they're on. I mean, Chris Dyson taking over, he'll get a fresh set of Michelins, and it's going to be very tight here as to whether they can get to the finish here without a splash at the end. I'm making they've got about an hour and 8 minutes to go or so maybe he can stretch it out. We knew that the Dyson car with this AER engine is going to get a little bit better mileage than the Audis, but it's going to be very tight as to whether they can get to the finish without another pit stop.
All right, Dorsey, as you were talking about, we'll continue to watch the number 20 stop. Even if you get better mileage, if you lose in time because the tires are going off, it kind of really cancels it out.
Well, it will. I don't think that James or these guys anticipated the car getting this loose. And the problem is it can't really back off and let those tires cool because both Audi boys are right there pushing pressure on it.
That's Chris Dyson behind the wheel. Watching as he heads out and gets back. We're watching James Weaver working traffic, and he is parked.
He's caught all the GT2 guys racing for position, and there's no way they're going to move over for him.
And he's still got away with it. And Piro is the driver, still stuck behind two of those cars. He just lost half of that football field you were talking about in the open.
He did. He lost half the front straightaway because he got mired into that on the downhill, which is one of the places on this track you don't want to get stopped. And he got stopped.
Again, working through traffic, Weaver, and you can see Leto right behind him, and that is the battle in GT2 once again, as that has changed up just a little bit. Liddell right there in the Panos hangs on. He's got the lead, but look who is closing up behind right there. That is Bernard, who's got around Bergmeister, and Timo Bernard has hustled the number 23 Hyatt Bell Micro Porsche from Alex Job Racing into a much, much closer battle with Liddell from third to second, and a close one at that.
These two guys that are winning their class or leading their class right here, their cornering speeds are not off much to those P cars. Now, the prototype cars are not that much quicker at the apex of the corner.
There goes Carroll. Here is Liddell. There is Bernard. So basically that is the margin for GT2. Liddell, a little sideways right there.
Yeah, these boys are running really hard. Not only the overall leader here, James Weaver, but Liddell, you know, trying to hold off on GT2.
And we're getting a report that for the number 8 entry, that is one of our LMP2 cars, the Mazda Courage. They're going to get a 8-minute, did I hear, penalty for 5 people over the wall working on the car, and there's a limit of 4, and that is expressly verboten.
Yeah, I don't know. It was 8 minutes. I think it was the number 8 car. Which
8 car,
minute.
correct.
Yeah,
1 minute penalty.
Oh, there's a 20 pass. That was Chris Dyson letting this. That was Chris Dyson just letting James Weaver go by cleanly. Now watch when the Audis catch up. See if he does the same courtesy. I don't think he will.
Well, Weaver in that last group of traffic opened up a huge margin. Look at that. It was absolutely maybe a car length. It is up to almost 4 seconds by the time he went by start and finish.
Now watch Chris Dyson in the 20 now, because remember, he's several laps down because of that paddle shifter. He let his teammate go by with no problem. He pulled off to the side of the road and said, go on by. He's got trouble. Chris has got trouble. He's real slow off that corner. But he didn't let him go, did he?
He made him trouble, but I don't know who knows the trouble he's got. Lato's going to, oh, look at that. Lato, hand up, shaking the fist.
Yeah, he held him up, no question about it, but I think he might have missed a gear. Look at that. See the gesture?
Well, the margin now, 5 seconds. The margin, 5 seconds. Weaver over Lato as a result of that exchange.
I'm sure JJ Lato thought that was intentional by Chris Dyson as the teammate to the 16 machine, but right now we talked about the paddle shifter issues. Just checked in with Rob Dyson. He said the 20 car is severely wounded. It's lost a couple of gears, so probably off that corner, Chris didn't have the acceleration that JJ was expecting.
That's exactly what I saw, Calvin. I saw when Chris Dyson went up into this chicane right here that he either missed a gear or didn't have a gear to get into. It looked like an intentional block, but he was just dead in the water.
Well, they've been struggling, as he alluded to. Paddle shift, of course, driving the paddle shift. You go back to the paddle shift. It's an issue. It looks like number 1 making a move into the pits. Lato heading pit side.
Jerome, let's get about 24 inches in the vent line or a green light. It'll be a fairly short fill, JJ. Get the ignition back on. Get ready for the exit.
Well, JJ Lato brings in, this must mean that these guys are in their fuel window. They're getting held up in traffic. They look analyzed the lap, saw all the traffic was, and thought, let's just bring him in. This will be a time stop.
Okay, JJ, get your finger on the button. Just try not to go a lap down here.
Staying on the same set of tires, Bueller's in. JJ,
go.
That will be his last stop of the day.
And he is heading out as Weaver comes whistling down the front straight. So he is retained on the lead lap. That was massive mission accomplished.
Yeah, not only is that mission accomplished there, but now paybacks can be something too, you know, because he's in front of the 16. When 16 gets up to him, his tires aren't quite up to temper yet. I guarantee you he's not going to let James Weaver go by him. And that short field, in other words, that was a time stop. Calvin?
Well, Brad Kettler is the crew chief. Brad, this place keeps you on your toes. What was the call there on JJ?
Yeah, I mean, short laps really make it interesting here. We did the age-old trick of backing into the race. JJ was in his fuel window. He was coming up on a lot of lap traffic and having to fight with James a lot. So we thought we'd pull him out of that fight, put him ready for the end of the race. Hopefully we'll run yellow free. Everybody else will have to stop and we'll go into the lead. Or if there's a yellow, we'll go into the lead. So we've played our hand. Let's hope it comes to us.
Now JJ gets fired up. Weaver has been very aggressive here on the restart and then taking the lead. Did JJ have anything to say on the radio?
He didn't say so much about James, but he was a little exercised about fighting with Andy in just a few seconds ago. And, but he gets excited, but he's a champion. He's excited about it.
This team has certainly matured. They've won a lot of sprint races. They've won the big one in Le Mans. They may have made a great call there today, Greg.
It certainly appears like it, and obviously that was Chris Dyson that made up a real driver change, trying to come to grips with a wounded car, but nonetheless, certainly keeping it interesting. A visit to New England isn't complete without a drive through a covered bridge. It is one just down the road in Cornwall. Absolutely beautiful. Happy 4th of July from everybody here at Speed Channel. Youngsters out canoeing, others here trackside watching some great racing. A fabulous weekend in the Berkshire Hills. Great to have you all with us as we enjoy this 4th round of the American Le Mans Series this year, and it has been a cracker, no doubt about it. We are less than an hour remaining, and we have seen some strategy played out, Dorsey. We have also seen a pit stop now by the car that was second in the hands of Emanuele Pirro. So it is Weaver who remains out there, remains in the lead, but will he stay there?
Well, and we have other issues too. Certainly fuel mileage could be part of it, Calvin.
Well, a great strategy was just played out by the number 2 car. They didn't top Emanuele Pirro all the way out, and they in fact beat the number 1 car out in terms of track position when they made this pit stop here. So this was a great call by Graham Taylor engineering this car, and Lewis Malone really seeing what the number 1 car, Brad Keller said they played their cards, and the number 2 car's able to watch that flash, slightly different strategy. They didn't top him all the way up, slightly shorter Phil. He's out there ahead of JJ right now with the 16 car having a pit before the end.
Well, yeah, the 16 car going this far will have the shorter yet pit stop because he won't need as much fuel as either of these guys come, but we don't know yet what that means until it happens.
And earlier this season, we saw Emanuele Pirro have some problems dealing with traffic, and he has been spot perfect today. And we have a change in the GT2 division as Timo Bernhard has managed to work his way back from 3rd into the lead, has gone around Martin O'Dell into Panos and picked up the point. We'll go back and show you how that pass occurred. Alex Joe in front.
Oh boy, right there, that's coming on the no-name straightaway, and he got up inside. Actually, that's the uphill turn. He got inside of him on the uphill right before the chicane. I've never seen it from that high up before. I got up in the air.
Well, nonetheless, it was a great pass. Watch it from this angle. He just got down inside, and there's nothing Liddell could do about it at that point.
No, he got trapped out for sure. Maybe just carried too much speed and couldn't defend the inside.
And now for Alex Joe Bracing, that number 23 Hyatt Del Michael entry. Might it be Alex Joe Bracing? It's amazing to me to say this. Their first ever win in Lime Rock on one of the tracks that they've never won on here.
That is very surprising with the success of Alex Joe Bracing.
That is the 35 of Fabio Bonini, the Maserati, currently sitting 2nd in GT1 behind the number 4, Danny Gavin. And the number 3 is Johnny O'Connell, and this is for position. They are on the same lap, Bonini and O'Connell. And Johnny O'Connell, even though that car is damaged, it is coming after him. And Johnny not healthy himself, so neither driver or car particularly healthy. Johnny no one's due.
So Johnny not looking too good. His car's not looking too good. Somewhat cosmetically challenged, you might say.
The car.
The car, yeah. And he's the flu's not fun to have in one of these cars when you're working this hard and it's that hot in the car. So doing a good job as Johnny always does. But he's driving a ugly car right now.
Trying to figure out a way by that Maserati on the no-name.
I'm quite impressed with the Maserati on this bumpy old circuit.
Supposedly the wild one driving that Maserati, so just...
The wild one. Obviously referring to the driver lineup. One of them considered to be a little bit more aggressive than the other.
Well, the driver, Fabio Bonini, is replaced. He ran with the team at Sebring, but then he didn't run the next 2 races, and it was Fabrizio Di Simone who was running, but he hurt his foot, so they brought Bonini back in, and so Bonini maybe not that much time in the car.
Dyson cars just crashed for
There's
sure.
somebody on the left, too.
The Porsche, that looks like the van Porsche on the left, I'm not sure yet. Definitely one of the Dysons.
It's
probably get it back
Chris Dyson, that's the number 20 Dyson car. And of course, that car we've been talking about has been in some trouble. The BAM car moving again. Cal?
Well, the key here for the 16 car is they've got to be careful. If they get a yellow now and the pits are closed, he would really get hurt by that. And as we speak, he's made the call. The team had brought him in before the pits were closed. What a great call. They were just talking about it. Now they're saying that the pits may have been closed. We're going to have to get an official ruling here to see whether Weaver pitted when he shouldn't have done. He's got his arms in the air. It was really a bit of a scramble here. They were talking about it. They're saying we're in a window. We've got to get him pitted because with the Audis on the same lap, if the pits were closed, Weaver was going to get hung up there. And now they're trying to get this Dyson car fired back up. There's a delay. He can't get any light. Boy, is it turning. Turning bad in a heartbeat. We talk about Lime Rock, how short the lap is, the strategy, the calls you have to make. And this is the last thing you need.
Calvin, here comes Lato.
And by rules, that car has got to start on its own. It cannot pop start it. It's going to have to crank on its own. And it is not doing that.
It sits dead in pit lane. Lato has gone by. Under a full course caution. Weaver, shaking his head.
They've had this trouble before, I should say, with the Dyson camp. With these cars, with the starter motors getting really hot down there by turbo. The turbo, putting out some
battery, set flatbed. Plug a shock battery, get it going. See what's wrong, and then we'll have another stab at it. That'll be plug the job.
And Dyson himself has brought the number 20 entry in, so both of them are in. This is our third caution, as you see, and this is one that has everything going wrong in a very short period of time for the Dyson Racing team. And a look at Weaver's eyes tells the story there. Pace car coming down the front straight. Once the scoring cycles, this should be Audi 1-2. For Dyson Racing, this is the track they call home. They're based in Poughkeepsie, New York, less than an hour away. They love this place, and only on occasion has it treated them well. We continue under caution. We're going to step away and let the... Oh, he got it fired up. Put the bonnet on and get him out. Now they may get held, and if the pits were indeed closed, there may also be a penalty, and here it... All right, they're releasing the car. And we'll sort it out when we come back. But for Dyson Racing, tears again perhaps here at Lime Rock. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Mazda. There's a soul of a sports car in everything we make. And by Slime, the best way to prevent and repair flat tires. Go to slime.com for a dealer near you. Welcome back to Lime Rock, everybody, and things got very interesting there for a moment, and Dorsey, even more than we understood, because 4 cars involved. Watch this.
Oh boy, it looked like Chris Dyson got completely nailed from behind by maybe the 50. Panos, I'm not sure.
The number 2 was involved.
Take this look here. Oh, I think Robin Liddell might have got in the back of Chris Dyson, who, remember, doesn't have a gear. Remember, he probably was stuck there for a minute and got clobbered by Robin Liddell. Calvin?
Well, the situation with the 16 team is James Weaver is insisting that when he came through the downhill, there was a green flag out, which is an indication of the driver you're cleared a pit. Now, right as he made the run into pit lane, I believe they did close the pits. He was, in fact, informed that by Bob Leitzinger on the radio, but right now I think the officials are going to say James was good to go. The other situation that happened during the whole scuffle on that lap was that Emanuele Pirro, who was leading the event, once James pitted, he got into it with someone. He had to make a trip down pit lane, which means we now have the number 1 Audi with JJ Leto leading this thing. Pretty bizarre 5 minutes there.
Well, first of all, we're hearing that for race control, there is no penalty on the 16. That's the first part of that equation. The Chris Dyson car probably didn't have a gear, got hit by the 50, which turned that into a big shabaza with Wolf Hensler involved, Manuel Pirro involved, Chris Dyson involved, and that's what that's about.
Well, obviously, Pirro, the 43 checked up for the contact in front. Pirro got right into the back of him as you take a look at who was involved. And certainly for Liddell, if you're coming through the chicane and you're exiting the chicane and there's a Dyson prototype in front of you, you don't expect them to suddenly slow down on the exit of that turn. I'm sure he rolled into the throttle and just pranked him, and it set off what turned out to be a very interesting chain of events here. We have about 45 minutes remaining, and J.J. Leto leads overall. Welcome back. We are back to Green and Dorsey.
There's a pace truck.
Huge handcuffing out there.
There's a truck. In the middle of the turn 1 is a truck, and they've gone green flag. Nobody's hit the thing yet. Quite an extraordinary situation.
Boy, that was unbelievable. It's the only way to put that.
Nobody knew it. The whole entire field got green and raced to turn 1 with this truck, and we got fire on the 20, the back of the 20 coming into the pits on fire.
By the way, during the break, the number 16 of Weaver came in and they changed tires again. You heard him tell Chris to get out.
Which Chris did pretty quickly.
Being a smart young lad. Calvin?
Well, on the previous pit stop, they've been pouring water down into the alternator area, so there's some kind of issue on this 20 machine. We know it's got gearbox problems. Now as there's fire potential of smoke but no fire right now, but just not a good day, and now it flashes up against there's some kind of oil leak down in the back end here, so looks like the 20.
And here's another truck out here, Calvin. All of a sudden, his truck's out.
Well, they had a white flag at start-finish, which generally means emergency vehicle on the track. But you don't normally throw a green while you have an emergency vehicle right in the middle of your first turn. So
Greg, that came out after the green was waved.
Exactly.
They suddenly realized that there was a safety vehicle down in turn 1. I went full green, and they were 3 abreast going down. That was pretty hairy.
Calvin, is that gearbox oil you think that's caught fire back there?
I would suggest so. I mean, it's just been a disastrous day here for the 20 car. I mean, they're such a fast race car, and it's got that smell, Dorsey. It doesn't smell good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They probably chucked the gear through the side of the case, dumped all that oil on that hot exhaust. This truck just wants to be hit something fierce. I don't know what in the world they're doing with this truck, but it just needs to go somewhere.
Well, they're probably trying to get it to where it's supposed to park. But let's go and take a look at this just amazing development at the start, Dorsey. First from up high.
There's your start. Now, those are all race cars, which is all good. Look right here. That's your truck. Now, watch them as they all come in here. They don't realize as drivers that that thing is there. Here it is right there, and all these guys inching along around the outside. Mask. Why it didn't get hit, I just don't know. That is a ridiculous deal.
Well, 3 abreast. I mean, look at this. We're 3 abreast down in here.
Watch this view. Now, these guys are over 100 miles an hour, and here's this truck coming out at 5 miles an hour. And there's hardly room for 2 race cars without a truck. The truck was waved out by somebody, too, so watch it. Line up here. Watch this in real time speed. See, that's smart. Puts his hand up. He saw the truck right away and said, hey, boys, we got a problem up here.
Well, that was the thing that surprised it, was the truck was waved out of the pits. It wasn't on the track. It came out, didn't it?
Right, no, you're exactly right. And that truck driver, of course, was told to go. He didn't do it on his own.
Yeah, they don't go without being released. So, well, gets curiouser and curiouser here at Lime Rock, folks. Welcome back, folks. While we continue under caution here at Lime Rock, I want to remind you of the next couple events coming up for the ALMS series. The next one will be on CBS. It's the Grand Prix of Sonoma. That's Sunday, July 17th, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you check that one out. Then 2 weeks after that, on Speed, we'll be at Portland for the Portland Grand Prix at Delta Park, Saturday, July 30th. And that will be 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So an evening race should be great fun, very interesting there in Delta Park, watching the sunset over the Cascades. So it should be a good time. So make sure you join us for each of those. And this is one of the reasons that the caution delayed. We saw the number 20 in the hands of Chris Dyson make its way into the pits on fire. Gear oil is down everywhere on the track, so they're trying to clean that up. And let's check in with Brian Till.
Greg, Robin Liddell had a great run in the number 50 Panos car, and you had no way of knowing because you weren't watching our broadcast. Obviously, Chris Dyson had a problem with the gearbox on that Lola. Seems to have caught you out.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate because obviously we were running in the lead in the beginning of my stint, and I was just looking after the tires because it's quite hot out there, and my drink system failed in the car, so I was getting pretty hot. So I just wanted to stay consistent. I knew I might have to finish the race and stay in the car till the end. But as it happened, yeah, Dyson came past me going into the corner just before the tight chicane, and I was not aware there was a problem. Obviously, we got on the throttle coming out, and all of a sudden, his car just slowed up massively, and I really had nowhere to go. I was so close behind him. I just hit him pretty hard, and then we were able to come around to the pits, and we've obviously sustained quite a bit of damage to the bodywork.
Well, it seems to be mostly bodywork, they're saying, guys. They've gotten the car back on the racetrack, but it was well back in the order. Let's check down with Calvin Fish.
Well, Brian, there's a lot of confusion over the race lead right now. We saw that Pirro got involved. He had to make a trip down pit lane. That lost him the lead. He came out right behind JJ later. Then went back to green, and during that lap when we had the safety vehicle on course, Pirro made a move for the lead, and Lewis Malone, the crew chief. What then happened?
Well, we believe Emanuele passed JJ. He believed that the yellow flags were not out yet. We had no yellows at the starter stand at the time, so we thought it was a clean pass. IMSA has reviewed it, determined that it was not a clean pass. The yellows were out whether we saw them or not, and as a result, it's a non-penalty infraction. We let JJ back by. We're going to race him to the end.
Okay, well, they feel they still have a strong race car. They inspected the car when he came down pit lane after having that incident with the traffic out there. So we've got two strong Audis going for the win here this afternoon, Greg.
Calvin, I think the key word there is strong Audis. Hero got into the back of that 43 BAM car a ton, and if they just checked him and said, "Yeah, it's okay, go ahead." That's amazing.
We've seen it so many times with that Audi, how strong it is. I remember driving it, making contact with a car, which I would have thought would have taken me out of the race, and didn't do a thing. So they are tanks.
This is through the area where all of that oil came down, obviously, when the contact, the problem, and whether the gear bag broke and dumped the oil and that's what caused Chris to slow, or whether it broke as a result of the contact, who knows, but it certainly has made things interesting here. We're going to step away once again as you take a look at our class leaders. Hope for a green soon. Wednesday night on Speed, old school racing is back. Pinks, lose the race, lose your ride. No points, no money. They're racing for pink slips. And the winner gets the other guy's ride. Pinks, Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, exclusively on Speed. We continue under caution due to the incident that we had, and of course the resultant gear oil, we believe, that is down everywhere. It is fairly extensive, and they're working to clean it up. It's the 4th of July. We promised fireworks. Yeah. Let's go right down to Calvin Fish.
Well, a little light-hearted moment down there. I just went up to Doug Feehan and I said, well, that was a new one. He said, what do you mean? The pit lane was open. The truck was entitled to go out, I guess.
I guess he was.
Well, everybody getting in the mix here.
We heard some chatter from J.J. Leto, of course, who's leading in the Audi, and he is not happy about that downhill corner because he said they didn't put enough oil dry down there, that there's still a big swath of oil beyond where they stopped, and he wants it cleaned up. I don't blame him.
Well, no, that downhill turn, I mean, we saw what happened to Ron Fellows just getting offline a little bit, let alone having some sort of lubricant down there to
I said at the beginning of the show, that corner will take your breath away because you can almost do it flat, not quite flat, but the compression at the bottom is just crazy. If you go off, now you saw what happened to Fellows.
This is where Leto was talking about. There are some workers down there. Now they finally gotten to it, apparently.
Let's see if maybe.
JJ's directing.
He is. He's saying, no, do some more up here. Let's see if he complains on the radio again, possibly. But he was showing the corner workers, no, you got to go further on. He's the first one to find out, you know.
Yeah. He's the first penguin in the water exactly. In that case, and I'm sure he's a little bit leery about that. So, well, that's a great shot here in the front straight at Lime Rock. A little heat haze on a 4th of July weekend. Under yellow, no change in our class leaders. We're going to be right back, folks. Don't go away. Tomorrow on Speed, check out Two Wheel Tuesday. Greg White delivers all of the motorcycling news and highlights with special guests from around the world of motorcycle racing. Catch all the two-wheel action tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern with Two Wheel Tuesday, only on Speed. Well, they were paying attention when JJ was on the radio talking. He was chatting up and saying where you needed to get the more oil dry down. That is the exit now of the diving turn in Dorsey. They are liberally applying the oil dry. They were paying attention.
They are indeed. They also talked to the crew chief, Brad Kettler, and Brad Kettler said, is there any other places, JJ? And he said, yes, at the exit of turn 1, they haven't got it either. So a lot of communication going on right now.
And so the cleanup does continue. And speaking of Brad Kettler, we heard from him a little bit earlier about the Herculean efforts the team had to make to get from Le Mans to here. We also asked him what it meant, not just to win the race, but to help give Tom Christensen the record, breaking Jackie Ick's amazing record of 6 wins at Le Mans.
For me, it was the achievement of a lifetime. And one of the greatest things for me is for the last time, I would think, that the R8's going to appear at Le Mans, I was the guy that brought it to a victory. And for me, that has as much satisfaction as maybe even the race itself. Because I love the car, and I think the car should be retired as a champion and should be revered for the true exceptional, almost mystical quality that the car has.
Well, I think that last comment pretty much says it all, mystical quality. What this this prototype has achieved since its inception is absolutely stunning.
Well, without question, the most significant sports car, the best sports car ever built. It's going to be hard to even conceive of something better than this R8.
Well, the first time we saw it at Le Mans, when they did the change, the entire rear end, when they pulled that entire rear end up, I mean, they actually had to write a rule of prohibiting that. It took the bar, it didn't just raise it, it threw it to an immensely new level.
It's an engineering masterpiece on all fronts. There's no question about it. It rewrote the book, and every car after it will have to look at this car before it can be done.
I was chatting with Butch Leitzinger, and I think he maybe gave it the ultimate comment. He pointed to their car and said, "This is a race car." Then he pointed at the Audi and said, "That's a production car. You don't have to do anything to it. You start it up, you drive it, and you win."
I drove them both, and I'll agree with it.
Well, there you have it. So we are well now within our last half hour of racing here at Lime Rock. We'll step away and look for that green. We are back to Lime Rock Park, and it is a track that is continuing to be cleaned up as they find oil and debris all around this track after that incident and all of the gear lube that was deposited on the track. So they're continuing to work on it. They found a bunch, Dorsey, as you had talked about, and Lato had mentioned, over in turn 1 and the exit of Big Bend. They're still working on it over there. So an awful lot has happened. Another thing that has apparently happened is during the course of this caution, we talked about it before, where you're running in one of the classes, if the overall leader gets in the wrong spot when the pace car comes out and the yellow comes out, you can get hurt, and that seems to be the case in GT2.
It does indeed, Greg, as the 23 and the 31 were racing with each other, now are separated by just about a lap, and I'll try to explain that to you, how that can happen. Now say that you're Timo Bernhard in the 23 and you're right here on the racetrack, and the guy chasing you, Patrick Long, is right here. Well, the overall leader comes by and he gets by and he's sitting right here now, and the caution comes out. So he's passed you here, but he hasn't got by the other car. So when the caution comes out, this car goes all the way around and catches up to the back of the other and is just made up one lap, yet neither driver did anything wrong.
Just the fortunes of racing and multi-class racing, and obviously 4 different classes here. Now, of course, there's always a winner and a loser in that outcome, and unfortunately, Calvin's with the guy representing the losing team in this one, Cal.
Well, Jörg Bergmeister was in the number 31 car when that happened, and Jörg, it must be so frustrating when you're that close to the lead and you see a yellow come out and you got the overall leader right in front of you.
Yeah, especially he passed me like 1 or 2 corners before the yellow came out, so it's really frustrating. If I would have known that there's a yellow, I could have blocked him for 1 corner and we would still be in the same lap, so pretty frustrating, yeah.
Certainly another very competitive running for you, Patrick, and the whole team. You have a healthy 19-point lead in the championship, so I know you want to win every race, but being on the podium again, if you can hold on, will be strong.
Yeah, but if we always finish second, it won't work with the championship if the 23 car is winning every race, so we have to win races.
He knows how strong the other team is. His old teammate, Timo Bernhard, behind the wheel right now. Hope to see that checkered flag today, Greg.
All right, Calvin, very, very tough. Of course, they got the win at Sebring and started off so strongly and have had their moments of frustration at the remaining races here. Well, folks, we continue under caution, but it looks like we may be going green soon, and we've been taking a lot of breaks, and we had a plan. We're going to step away, but when we come back, folks, we are going to take you nonstop, no commercials, right through to the checkered flag. So don't go away. Welcome back to Lime Rock, everybody. Finally, we are back to green. Just over 15 minutes remaining. It is Lato in the number 1 ADT champion Audi, Emanuele Pirro. In the number 2 team car, sitting in second, you are on board with Emanuele Pirro. And again, just a little over 15 minutes to go. And one of the questions, Dorsey, would be, as we saw at Sebring, let them go and race. Will they do that here?
Yeah, they already did it. As a matter of fact, on the start down there, with all that oil drive, all that unknown oil, Pirro took a look at Lato. Lato didn't like it very much and had to give him the brakes so deep that he locked up the brakes going into one. The race is on.
On indeed. Now keep in mind, a couple laps back, although he's going to be right third in your frame, is Weaver. Ever quick, to be sure, but he is not a factor right now in terms of the lead battle. It is these two ADT S-line Audis that are going to be waging war up front right now, and that is Lado. Now keep in mind, Lado and Werner, they not only coming off of Le Mans, but Sebring and Road Atlanta, they also got wins here too. Some serious points implications for the championship as we go back and show you the start. Watch Pirro.
Yeah, Pirro's going to have a good look up the outside right here. JJ didn't expect him to do that. They almost touch right there, and that makes JJ mad. Watch how deep he's going to drive it in here. Locks up the tires just a little bit. He said, you're not getting by me that easy. Now also, another thing, the third place car of James Weaver, while he came in, he put softer compound tire on the left front into a medium. He should be very, very fast.
Well, after that start, he has certainly reeled Pirro in here, and of course, he wants to get around. He has shown a lap down, so if he can get by these two guys and then, at some point here, get another yellow, come back to the back, well, hey, we'll see what happens. But catching them, getting by them at this stage, Royce, that's two different stories.
Well, here's what you do. You go by Pirro, then you spin Lado, which brings out the yellow.
All right. And that's why you're in the booth and not calling the strategy. So
we can get away with that.
That's exactly. That's exactly it. Well, there you go. There's Weaver, third, as I said. Dropped back a little bit at the start, but as quickly reeled in Pirro. Going to be doing everything he can. Now, with that softer tire, he'll be fast, but how long is that going to last?
Well, it should last, because you're only talking about 20% of this race or so. That left front, what it'll do is make that car cut into the corner real crisply. In other words, it'll turn in with a lot of power. He'll be able to get on the throttle earlier and get a launch off the corners and lengthen the straightaways. That's what he's thinking is anyway.
Cycling through the right-hander that leads on to No Name Straight. We're going to let you enjoy the sounds of speed with Emanuele Pirro. Switch you over to the number 79 J3 Porsche.
This will sound a lot racier than that turbo. and you'll be on the same lap if that caution comes out.
11 and a half minutes remaining. 11 and a half.
That's Bob Leitzinger giving Weaver the count. How much time he's got to make up a lap.
Any caution right now would be just quite catastrophic. Not catastrophic, would be exactly what we can get Weaver fixed.
Meanwhile, Pirro all over the back of the lane over traffic. And when we were on board for the Sounds of Speed, we saw Pirro get crossed up a couple of times. Clearly, they are on it.
Well, they're definitely on it. No question about it. We're riding at the back of that pack. And I just noticed that the lead cars were about to catch us. These guys are really on full song right now. Without a caution, James has no way of catching up to this group again. But the caution will change the whole picture of the thing. Weaver running 2 seconds a lap faster than either one of these Audis right now. So that softer front compound tire really turning in some good lap times right now.
By the way, I do want to say for the JP Motorsports Porsche we rode on board with, kind of a breakthrough year for them. It's the best ever finish. A second, they added a podium in Mid-Ohio, had some problems in Road Atlanta. Justin Jackson and Tim Sugden, who was on board, was just amazing. We're going to go back now and show you Weaver's pass on Pirro, and you thought the one to get around Leto was nice.
Downhill run, big downhill run, and look at Pirro goes defensive all the way to pit lane. It looks like he's going into pits right there. James is up behind him, and this is a bad place to try to break from. James knows it goes out wide, slices across. There's no way, buddy. Good job, James. That was a good one.
Boy, swings out to the line. A little later, car breaks. And
it's over with for James. It's 16.
Crawl.
16 is broken something. And he was giving it all he had right there.
Trying to nurse it around, James.
We understand from the Dyson crew it may be a throttle linkage
See on
issue
the
for James
telemetry
Weaver.
to get you home switches working.
Peter Weston trying to talk him around. What heartbreak he gave
No,
100%.
James, it's not working. Just changed position on it. Gone back to up, and I can't get it to work at all, mate. Flick the switch 4, James. 3 or 4 on the map switch. See if that makes any difference.
I wonder if this is a throwback to the trying to get the car restarted.
Well, if he gets a caution, this is not the one he wanted. I'll tell you that for sure.
But it almost sounded like there was some ignition issues. There's the leader in the P2 category, Chris McMurray.
Could be actually a fuel issue because they're talking about turning the map. You heard him say switch the map sensor. There's James, no name straightaway, crawling along. It's over for James. Watch this race to the first place out of here. I'll tell you what, Emmanuel Pirro does not want to come in second.
Working down through the backside of the track here. Coming up on traffic once again.
Fastest car right now on that lap, Pirro for sure. No team orders here, no team orders. They're going to go for the finish, trying to battle each other right down to the wire. There's not that much time left to go.
It's just great, compelling video to watch as these guys are racing in traffic.
Traffic can be the deciding factor between the two Audis as to who wins this. There's James right there on the uphill. He's come to an abrupt stop, and he's kind of in a dangerous place. I mean, he's to the inside, which is all he could do with that car. Now, whether or not they want that worthy of bringing out a double yellow or not, I don't know. James done everything he can. Car is over with. These two, and that Corvette really, really hurt him. That again is up the uphill, like I said. He's off to the right.
I can let it roll backwards to get out of the way. When you get a clear space, back it up into the grass. Back it into the grass.
Good call there.
That's about as sporting as it gets. Obviously, had he stayed there, there may have been a little choice but to go full course.
Okay, James.
Nicely done there,
Try
got out of the
position
way.
4 again, please.
That's a fairly safe spot. Should be no problem, so he can let this race unfold.
Still trying to get the car running, trying to talk his way through it with his chief. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Well, this has some serious implications. With their win at Mid-Ohio, obviously, Weaver and Leitzinger were second in the points.
Say something?
So that's fairly serious implications.
Stay
we
with
talked
the
about
car.
at the top of the show.
We're going to have to switch off. It's getting hot. James, stay with the car. Stay with the car. With the car, mate. When they all cool down a bit, recycle them afterwards and have another stab at it.
Well, it's been running.
Jay, you got me.
He's had the engine on the whole time. He's saying it's getting hot. Now I'm going to have to switch it off. Recycle the master switch will reset the computer, the ECU. They're trying to make it do something just to get it out of where it's at, but it's not going to make any difference to the overall effect of this race. And one of the lead Audi right there, J.J. Lato, got balked, got balked by the Maserati, and now has Pirro all over the back of him again to contend.
Problem is that Maserati, when it goes to that V12 throttle, it's got some grunt. You can see that it pulled them a little bit for a minute there. They both get by as we hop on board the Maserati, but that allowed that margin that Lato had opened up over Pirro to evaporate. And by the way, the Maserati right now sits fourth in GT1, but only a few seconds behind Johnny Bolam. The never-ending Big Bend.
This is where the Maserati went swimming yesterday, straight off there by those signs. Or the other day, I should say.
Here's the climbing turn.
At the 16 James Weaver car, linkage problem, some sort of linkage. Calvin?
Well, we see the two Audis out front, and we know at Sebring they allowed them to race there. And certainly the same case here today, which is great stuff. We've got the two Audis running flat out. We see a little bit of traffic, anything can happen here. So Dave Mirage has said, let the boys go run. Good stuff indeed.
Well, our Mobile One move of the race is actually a double header, and we've got to go with them as the nod for the Mobile One move of the race. We want to show to you those two great passes by James Weaver. First, taking second away from Pirro with that stunning move. And then getting back on the lead lap, coming down underneath J.J. Lato in that scrum of traffic. And look at that, move J.J. over just a little bit to let him know, I'm coming through, babe.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that lap is when the linkage broke. There is James, who is out of the car. Safety team guys with him. James is fine, no problem. He just can't get a gear.
Well, if it was, is it gear linkage?
Yeah, he's got a linkage problem. The crowd acknowledges him, and he's they put on a good show. James Weaver is a fan favorite. Oh, we've had a wreck.
And the J3 Motorsports Porsche. Look at the left rear tire in that car. Looks. Oh, I guess it was just a reflection. I thought it was.
That was on the exit of Big Bend, right there before you get to the left hand. Riding with Tim Sutton now. Both those cars have been out in the weeds.
There's Johnny Bolam in the GT1 in third place. Sepko Saline.
Roughly 10 minutes to go, and like you say.
And that's the Maserati. That's your battle there. But meanwhile, let's go back so we can sort out what happened here.
Wow, just spins. I don't know if that was oil or whatever. Then backs right around. Kind of an accident avoidance situation. That's the braking. You see everybody checking up. A little punt right there. Puts the J3 Motorsports around. Not a big wreck, but one of those things that happens in line run.
The two leaders rocketing through that on the onboard. I mean, stuff comes up so quick here. You're driving along and suddenly there's cars everywhere. You're just a punt.
That could have been a result of that oil still on the outside. They went in there pretty hot. There's the two lead cars split now by a Porsche. It's not a Porsche.
Pirro again, it's the worst of traffic at this stage.
JJ's got the hammer down. He wants to win this, no doubt about it.
By the way, with the problems for Weaver, a remarkable story building as well. GT1 leader is Ollie Gavin, third overall. But here's the 63 of Bolam, and there's the battle. That is the Maserati, who is coming after this is for third in GT1. Final podium spot.
Look him up to the inside, not giving it up to the Maserati. That opens the door. Stick his nose in here.
A couple laps back, I glanced at the monitor, and Bolam turned a lap 2 seconds quicker than the Maserati. And it didn't look like they were in serious traffic, but they must have been, because that margin evaporated in a huge hurry, and we are 2 minutes remaining.
Which is essentially 2 laps for these boys. If they run 2 more times around this mile-and-a-half circuit, they get the job done.
The Maserati doesn't run for points, but it does run for prestige. And Maserati course and the factory, of course, would love to have the car on the course.
A lot of changes been made to that Celine. The Sunco car, some 50-plus changes for this weekend, and it's doing better. It's nice to see it running well again.
1.5. Keep going, buddy.
Count 1.5 minutes, probably 2 laps ago. Remember, they will throw the white flag when it's underneath the lap to go.
It's Johnny Mullen's radio you were listening in on. A little encouragement there. Keep it going.
Well, Babini may have a reputation as being a little wild, but he's quick.
Well, you look at Mullen's car stepping out too from behind. Looking at that windshield. Watch the back of Celine. It's not steady by any means. It's moving left, moving right, up and down. So they're both giving it their all with this 1.5 lap to go. That's a good look right there toward the chicane.
Well, Aaron Borcholo reported earlier that he was bouncing so badly going into 1, it was tough for him to downshift. We're getting a report white flag next time by for the leaders as we're on board this battle in GT1. And earlier in the week, Mollem said he thought they had too much rear brake bias and the rears were locking, throwing the car sideways, and it was the bump. So they've been fighting that since day 1 here.
That team has been working very, very hard, like I say, to get back on track. 50 some odd changes since the last outing to make it where it is right now. They still don't have it exactly like they want, but maybe Lime Rock isn't suited for that car either. It's a very rough racetrack. You're sure you want to tune the car to this place.
And here we go, J.J. Leto coming down the hill. White flag coming out, 1 lap to go. And there's the margin. Leto over Pirro.
And traffic is going to play into the hand of J.J. Leto. He's right at the tail end of a bunch of pretty quick cars.
Back on board this battle for the podium spot. Third in GT1, Babini chasing Mola, Maserati chasing Celine as they're coming down to begin their last lap.
Right now, you're trying to set up a run on that corner right there to get a run down the straightaway. Already you see Johnny Mola on the inside. Not going around that way.
Virtually identical lap times that time, Doris.
Yeah, but they got traffic in front of them too as well, Greg. They got a GT2 car in front of them that might slow Johnny Mullen up if he zigs instead of zags. He could be all over.
Meanwhile, onto the front straight, J.J. Leto going for yet another win this season. Checker flag is out. He takes it. Pirro comes home in second. So another 1-2 finish for champion. We go back on board here. Mola working traffic. Babini trying to get through. He gets squeezed. That's it.
The 24 is just determined to win that by getting in between them.
Meanwhile, yeah, there's our GT2 winner, and Alex Job has won at Lime Rock. Meanwhile, back on board with the Maserati. You can see Mola now big one.
Right, you see Babini after the Porsche got between him, just got out of the throttle knowing there's no place left to go. Somebody step on something?
Yeah, man, great job.
And I think that yell, not just for a podium, but for survival on this very bumpy track for that team. When we come back, we'll visit with our winners. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by New Mobil 1 Extended Performance, the oil that's changing oil. By Porsche, there is no substitute. And by Michelin, a better way forward.
You're looking at the top 4 in P1 and the winner today, the Le Mans victory, just fresh in their mind, and J.J. Leto, that was a dogfight out there today.
It was unbelievable. It's just Dysons were fast. Our second car was fast. You know, it was just, there was 4 really, really fast cars, and everybody was battling. There was sometimes, you know, changing the tires. You know, you didn't have the right tire pressure, so I had a lot of understeering, and James got by. But then it was staying very, very consistent and very close all the time. Hitting traffic. Suddenly you lost a lot, then you gained again. It was just a really nice fight and tough all the way to the end.
Superb battle, well done.
Thank you.
Greg?
There's a look at the GT2 finishing order once again. Bernard Dumas, the pairing that gets the win. Let's get back down to Brian Till.
Well, Greg, Romain Dumas and Timo Bernard, a fantastic drive today, and you've done something for Alex Job that he's never had before, a win at Mid-Ohio and now a win at Lime Rock, and you're climbing back up in the points.
Yeah, thank you. He put some pressure on me when he told me that he hadn't won Mid-Ohio and he hasn't won Lime Rock yet, so I think Romain and I said we did a good job, and the car was perfect. It was a very good race, very good fighting. Everything was great.
Well, if the rest of the season is anything like this race, it'll be great, guys. The Pano's very strong, but the Porsche on top.
Persevered once again. Take a look at P2 with Bucknam and McMurray taking the win. And Calvin, they had their problems, but they also had the pace.
They certainly did have the pace. And Chris, I know it wasn't the easiest of wins. You had the penalty there, but you came through a great victory today, second of the season.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I mean, everybody has a little bit of adversity when they're out here, so you just got to kind of work through it. And I want to say hi to the boys at home and Bobby, Suzanne, and all Jeff's kids. Thanks, Slime, Rockford, John Macaluso, the guys on Miracle. They just kick butt. It's been a great season so far.
How deep did you have to dig when you saw that red flag and you realized that you'd blown through it and you had to come back and sit in the pits for 100 seconds?
You know what? I don't know. I figured we'd still be able to get back into it. We had a 2-lap lead at that point. To be honest, I never saw it. I actually was sitting there going, did she even have the red flag up? But I'm sure she did, so I learned something.
Great job.
Thanks.
All right, let's take a look now at our results in GT1, and it's Gavin and Beretta. That's the 19th win for Beretta, the 10th for Gavin, and there with Brian.
Greg, it was a day of pace, like you said, on the racetrack, but also a day of patience, Ollie. I mean, it was tough out there today, a lot of traffic.
Yeah, I mean, it was tricky. Lime Rock's always a tricky place to come to. You know, it's tight, it's twisty. There's a lot of traffic here, but everybody on the Corvette team did a brilliant job, and you know, the C6 for the first time here has been fantastic. Very, very smooth running. The team did a great job in the pit stops. You know, Olivia did a fantastic job in the first stint. It was unfortunate what happened with the 3 cars. I think we were lining up there to have a really good race. But from then onwards, really, we were just being patient, trying to stay out of trouble. When all that oil was put down, it was tricky. And there was some times then where it was strange, didn't really know what was going on. There was slower vehicles on the track and all kinds of stuff. But thanks a lot to everybody at Copyware and Corvette Racing.
Another win for Corvette. Greg?
They just continue to clock them. We want to remind you our next ALMS race will be on CBS in 2 weeks, the Grand Prix of Sonoma, Sunday, July 17th. And will be the next round. 2 weeks after that, we'll be back on Speed, the Portland Grand Prix, Saturday, July 30th. Make sure and check into them. Make sure to log on to speedtv.com. And a quick reminder here for J.J. Leto, along with Le Mans, the great season he's had, that win ties him now with Fellows and O'Connell for winningest driver in ALMS. For Dorsey Schrader, for Calvin Fish and Brian Till, thank you so much for joining us here at Lime Rock, where we had the fireworks without question on this 4th of July weekend. Until next time, take care, everybody.